to be fair, you do have just incredible stamina.
Damn right I do. Hello and welcome to another episode of Video Game Logic. Today's show was recorded on January the 23rd, 2018. I'm your host, Gaming Psychologist, and with me, as always, foaming at the mouth.
Hey, I have you know I'm just caffeine rage. I'm not a rabbit, as far as I know.
On today's show, we will of course be discussing the games that we've played this week. Nintendo sells the box with Labo, or Labo. Nvidia's anti-miner retailer advice is just an empty gesture to PC gamers. Activision's Destiny 2 is struggling as gamers are unhappy over microtransactions. Anti-piracy firm Denuvo is acquired by Irdeto to protect the gaming industry. John Cena is in talks to star in a Duke Nukem movie. We're going to have our Steam Weekly Discovery Queue first before Community Corner this week. And timestamps will be in the show notes following their respective topics. Hello, Rage.
Hello.
I almost made two boo-boos. I did make one boo-boo, obviously. I almost said it was 2017.
You do realize we're pretty far into the month now, so you shouldn't be making that mistake anymore, right?
I shouldn't be, but here I am, almost making it. Like, there was a little bit of a pause. I don't know if you noticed it or not, but I was said 2018.
Yeah, I was sitting here waiting for it.
Yep. But no, I made it. I made it through with only one mistake this week.
Oh, sorry, we're still going to have to demonetize you.
Yeah, well, YouTube's doing that anyways. As a whole. Although I completely understand the last episode being not suitable for advertisers based on the title. Pervert things.
Well, why do you think I have alternate titles on my YouTube?
Yeah, I was really proud of that title. Or, well, not proud, but happy of that title.
Oh, trust me. My RimWorld series, I'm quite proud with just the town name. I think it's my best town name.
Before I get too far away from advertiser talk, that reminds me, I made a note of this earlier, and then I don't know where it is. But because our podcast is bigger now, we qualify for ads on Podbean.
Ooh.
And just let me know, anyone, if you hear a pre-roll ad. Let me know ASAP by tweeting at VGL Podcast or at JMA4707. We're not supposed to have pre-roll ads, only post-roll ads. So if you hear a pre-roll, either I fuck something up or they change something. So, but yay, we qualify for ads. Maybe we'll make like 6 cents off of this.
No, you shouldn't undersell us. I mean, this is our combined suckiness, so it's going to be 7, at least.
Woo! Get that extra cent in there.
Well, you do know that we always love to put in our 2 cents.
Indeed, we do. Also, this show's probably going to be, well, it's definitely going to be shorter than the last two because we actually have a deadline. So, we won't have any 4-hour monstrosity this week.
In theory. So, games we played?
Indeed. Games we played. Just taking us right in there. Rach, what games have you played this week?
Oh, well, here's one that you were excited to see on my list. Staxel. I got a review copy of this, and today's actually the embargo day, so I'm... even just talking to you won't get me in trouble with it, I don't think. Granted, embargoes are... I always called them the gentleman's agreement that there's no legal binding to an embargo, but at the same time, if you break embargoes enough, then you start to get blacklisted. So, like I said, gentleman's agreement. But Staxel is... Let's just call it what it really is. It's the bastard child of Minecraft and Stardew Valley, where it's a farming sim, but it's mostly a sandbox game. And I have my issues with this game. Not just on the technical front, which I hit mostly, and that's why it wasn't a late Sunday sampler, was that this game is constantly unloading and loading the map chunks. Think of it as the Minecraft example on this, where remember old Minecraft where as it loaded the large chunks of the world, you would see a noticeable FPS hit as it loaded in. Staxel does this fucking constantly. I'm not sure if it's just my system being under spec, which it's likely just making it worse, but it just gets very bad at times. And also, it's incredibly visually busy with a hell of a lot of pop in and a lot of level of detail loading in far later than it should. So you'll see like fences go from low poly, which I realize low poly in a game like this is kind of funny to say, but a low detail version of a fence or a building suddenly pop into the high detail, and it's just very distracting. On top of it just being busy as hell because there's flowers everywhere, there's decorations everywhere. It's, like I said, just very visually busy. And then you get to the gameplay where it's a sandbox game. And that's both good and bad for this genre because there's... the thing about Stardew Valley is that you can do what you want for a certain extent, but you're also on a sort of a track where you're unlocking things and you're doing things in a particular sequence. This, you could set up pretty much anywhere. You could break down your house and completely move it. Or you could break down your neighbor's house and they don't care because it's a sandbox game. So, yeah, it's in early access, so I can forgive it a little bit, but at the same time, it doesn't seem to really have the charm of Stardew Valley where it has the player interactions. There's no relationships yet. They are talking about maybe doing some sort of roommate and maybe marriage later down the line, but as of right now, there is none of that. And does it seem like there's any way to really build up a friendship with town folks as it is right now? You just do some fetch quests and that's pretty much it. It's very bare bones whenever I looked at it. There's a structure there that I could see added onto quite a bit, but just its initial offering, no.
Gotcha. It does, I mean, it looks really cute.
It looks cute, and because it's not quite the Minecraft style, it's the smaller voxel art. I will say that it looks a lot better than what Minecraft ever did, but at the same time, it's also very visually busy because they went absolutely batshit insane with some of the decoration. I will say that it is, I do like some of the sandbox elements. One of the last things I hit before I just decided that this wasn't performing well enough for me to even really bother with was you very early on get, I believe it's cows. Cows just wandered onto the island. Don't know how. Maybe they built a boat. Maybe they're just washed up on shore, come across a cow leg sticking out of the sand on the beach and there's just a muffled mooing. But you're told to build a barn, as in Minecraft, build a barn, block by block. And that's interesting to me. You're not stuck with just what you could build, like in Stardew Valley, or I should say the preset things. You could do your own thing. And there is a lot of customization already in the game and a lot of cosmetic stuff in the game. And I shouldn't say the microtransaction version of cosmetic. I'm talking about, just junk you could lay around, extra bookcases, just add odds and ends to put around on tables and that sort of thing. And I like that. But at the same time, they want to be a farming sim as well, and the sandbox elements of that kind of gets in the way. Because, you could pretty much do what you want, and at the same time, you could do what you want, and it's kind of contrary,
Yeah, so I've got a 25% off coupon because I own Starbound. But this isn't the same developers who made Starbound.
I have no idea. Maybe it's the same publisher?
Maybe. Starbound, it looks like self-published. Has Starbound been bought? The developer Chucklefish been bought by somebody?
No idea. I didn't know there was a loyalty discount on this. I got a review copy.
Yeah, well, I mean, when I pulled up the store page, it says you have a coupon available. A coupon in your inventory will be applied automatically at checkout, and it's 25% off for Starbound owners.
Yeah, that's weird. Well, I don't know. I have no idea what's going on there. Because that just makes no sense to me, but I could see this evolving into something worthwhile playing. It's just, it's the curse of early access, really. When a game comes out originally, it's usually very rough. And, it's the very definition of early access, or I should say proper early access. Not just, we're putting out it early for you to do stretch testing. This is in development, and it's been in development for a while, so I could definitely see where it could go. And its roadmap, it has a few updates planned already, which one of my big gripes, no progression with the townsfolk at all, is one of them. Granted, they should have some sort of thing where if you start breaking down the town hall, they should be a little pissed with you. But I could definitely...
Yeah, that would make sense.
I could definitely
they would
see...
get mad at you.
I could definitely see where it's going to go, and I think it could be worthwhile overall. It's just right now it's not. Any questions since I played it and you were interested in it?
No, I mean, you did pretty much an overview. I went and requested a review key on Keymailer, and if I get it, that's great, but I don't think I'm going to spend money on it at this point after listening to you talk about it. Looks like Chucklefish is handling the marketing for this game. So that's probably why there's a discount.
Now it makes more sense. Yeah. That actually makes a lot of sense because they, the marketing arm of it. Even though Starbound is probably not the greatest example of cross-promotion. I mean, hell, if they want to do cross-promotion, I would say Stardew Valley. Even though it is a farming game, it's farming as in pretty much any Minecraft mod that adds farming, or even just the vanilla Minecraft farming. It's very basic, at least for the time being.
It would be pretty difficult to be more basic than Minecraft farming.
Well, let's put it this way: the tutorial, basically, you have a hoe, and then there's the tool that the tutorial girl gives you.
You have a hoe, and she's a tool.
You dig out, plow up some of the ground, put a seed in it, then she gives you miracle water to skip all the growing process. So, yeah, I mean, it is... but then again, you really can't get too advanced with farming because it's pretty basic. It'll be interesting to see where it goes, though. So, how about we move on to my next game while you sit and request keys. Super Trucks Off-Road. Mobile game, essentially, that came to Steam. And it's not terrible. The game is very, very floaty, and I would say on the arcade sim, kind of just spectrum. This pegs arcade so hard that it actually cracked the meter.
Okay.
But it has loot boxes.
Yay.
It doesn't seem that you could buy them with real world currency. And the loot boxes are an odd thing in this game. It's not quite what you would think. The progression system is sort of a hybrid of your traditional, spend money and the meters goes up, and loot box where you get cards that upgrade your car like the latest Need for Speed does. If you get a match set of 4 cards, it gives you essentially a free upgrade in that paid meter. But I started to get a little concerned about that because if you get bad luck with those loot boxes, you could only get so much money in this game to progress. So I was starting to see that maybe there could be some sort of dead end here. And also, general upgrades cosmetics, which also gives a small stat boost, also have to be unlocked through the loot boxes, and those are completely random. So,
wonderful.
Like I said, it turned me off big time.
Also, what do you mean there's only so much money you can get?
It didn't seem that rerunning events would have been a lot of money. Granted, I didn't really do that much because I was just, if I was at level, I was just annihilating the AI. So that didn't really hit an issue, but I saw definite spikes in the AI difficulty. And it's also one of those games that as your car gets damaged, you start to lose performance.
Okay.
So there was a couple times that I just got rammed, and that was really the only times I lost. Was I would get rammed, get damaged too much, and I couldn't keep up with the AI. It rubber band enough for me to, kind of tease, but at the same time, no.
Kind of tease. Just tease it.
But yeah, I was starting to see maybe this could be a problem later on because you're either going to sit there and grind out the event screen that is kind of part of the racing genre anyway, or just get lucky with the loot boxes. And that just didn't seem all that fun to me, particularly just because the cosmetics, not cosmetics that they have also are random in the loot boxes. And you could pick up the loot boxes during the race, which are usually in some out-of-the-way spot. So you're either trying to grab the loot box and kill your lead, or, get lucky and, just happen to be on the racing line for that track. I could definitely see that it was the monetization model in the mobile game, and they just ported it over and didn't take the monetization model, or didn't rework it so that it made sense. It's just they took out all the buy-ins, which made me worry about the progression,
Yeah. So you can't spend money, which I guess is a good thing, but they didn't redo the
It didn't seem that they redid
in-game economy.
Granted, if this isn't a mobile game, I didn't find it on mobile, but that doesn't really mean much because it could be in production for mobile. If it's not, then they played one too many mobile games and got inspired a little too much by the design of mobile and not, well, I hate to use the true Scotsman fallacy for this, but real games.
What is the no true Scotsman?
Mm-hmm. But you know what I mean with that, where there's a definite disconnect on how mobile games are developed and how they play compared to how PC games and console games are built.
Let's see. It is on the Microsoft App Store, and it's a Facebook game.
See, I was looking at mobile and not Facebook because I forgot Facebook games was a thing still.
I just Googled it. And yes, it does have microtransactions in both games. Or in both versions. You can play it for free on Facebook, and it's $10 on the Microsoft Store, and it says contains in-app purchases. So I guess they're double dipping there.
Bastards. Yeah, so this one could burn in hell.
Yeah, it doesn't show up anywhere else, but I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't come to Android and iOS later.
Yeah, you can see why I was thinking this was mobile looking at those screenshots. I mean, that's just horrendous UI for a PC game.
Yeah.
Big buttons. And also, instead of functional arrow keys on the UI, click and drag.
Wait, to drive?
No. To go through the UI. If there's more than what you can see on the screen, like for example, the cards for the upgrade screen.
Yeah.
Because you quickly, actually in the very beginning, you quickly get those, but then again, that's pretty bog standard for mobile games is that they front load all the content so that you get that buy-in feel. You start to get to the point where you can't see all your cards. And instead of, the arrow keys on the side that shows, hey, there's more to the left and right. Instead of having those functionals as in clicking and, moving the page, you click and drag. It's like it's a fucking touch screen.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely designed with mobile markets in mind. Weird that it's not at least on Android too, though.
Yeah.
There's no fucking standard on Android as long as your app doesn't have a virus.
Yeah, that's why I was looking at the Android and iOS was that I was assuming that would be there just based on how it played. Because it was very floaty. It was the trucks. It's monster trucks, by the way. Not you would think like a stadium truck or a dirt truck, that sort of thing. But no, this is monster trucks. They're very bouncy, very floaty, and it feels like it wouldn't play too badly in comparison to what I was playing with a touchscreen. But I was looking, I just couldn't find it, so I was assuming that was coming eventually. But I completely forgot Facebook games was a thing. I mean, they got basically usurped by mobile games these days, haven't they?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, they're still successful Facebook games, but I mean, I don't know anybody that plays them anymore. Used to, Facebook games were the realm of mom and grandma, but now mom and grandma play
Bejeweled
games on their phones. Or they get hardcore like my mom and play World of Warcraft. Bow, bow, bow.
I'm pretty sure you shouldn't use your mother and hardcore in the same sentence.
This is me we're talking about here. I can use anything in the same sentence and it's fine. No shame.
You could use anything and anything and it's not fine. Because it's you.
Yeah, touche.
So since we've been talking about mobile for a while, how about a mobile game?
A mobile game that's not pretending?
A mobile game that actually was pretty good. Spaceflight Simulator, which is essentially a free version of Simple Rockets.
I was going to say, this looks pretty much exactly like Simple Rockets.
Well, it does a couple things differently that makes it notable. For one, it's completely free, as in no ads whatsoever. So this is basically the same model that Seed Ship was using. Remember the game you talked about ages ago?
Yep.
Same idea there. I'm assuming that there may be a Patreon, or this is like a test project for him, because it's the first game that this guy's put out. But the most notable thing about this, how it plays, well, there's a couple of differences. For one, it's a bit rougher. It's not staged like Simple Rockets is, so everything is manually done. If you have boosters on the side of your rocket, you have to manually hit each one to decouple them. And you have to manually tap to turn on and off engines. So it's a little rougher there. And there's no docking like Simple Rockets had. So no space stations and no docking maneuvers. But at the same time, this handles transfer windows a lot better. As in, you're in the orbital view, or the map view in orbit. You tap the target that you want to go to. In my case, the moon, because it's kind of the first stop for any spaceflight game. This is the real solar system, by the way. It's not fully implemented. It's just the inner solar system for the time being. But it's good enough for now. You tap the moon, and it shows your burn window on your orbit, so you're not having to sit and try to guess where to transfer. So it's a lot more straightforward, and the tutorial pretty much lets you figure out on your own how to do space flight. So it's not as good a tutorial as Simple Rockets has, but if you have any interest in space flight, I think you could figure this out.
Yeah.
But overall, I think it's worth a look, and I think that there may be one or two rocket enthusiasts in the audience.
Just a few. So I went to the site, which just redirects to their Discord group, and it's got a PC version.
Oh, it does?
Available for download for free.
I just kept seeing this pop up on my Google Play, and I was busy rendering, so it's like, fine! Hey, this is actually pretty good.
I was just looking to see if they had like a Patreon page or something, but I do not see one. Although
maybe this is a student project or something.
Yeah, might be.
But yeah, I just wanted to highlight it real quick because it's a free version of Simple Rockets, and I don't really have a problem with that.
Because Simple Rockets was fun.
I wouldn't mind seeing a few more parts. There's only 2 engines. There's 1 fuel tank that you could just stack pretty much as much as you want. Well, a somewhat sensible faction because there's only so much space in the rocket building screen, but still. It seems to have enough Delta V to really visit anywhere in the inner solar system pretty easily with what you could use.
Sounds interesting. I might check it out. Also, I kind of want to re-download Simple Rockets because I bought that, last year or 2 years ago, maybe?
Yeah, I think I have it on both Android and... I know I have it on Steam, but I'm pretty sure I have it on Android as well. But, yeah, not a bad little game. So, final game. This was my Sunday sampler for the week. Phantom Signal. This is, the full name is Phantom Signal Sci-Fi Strategy Game, because I guess they have to throw the genre in there these days. This reminds me a lot of Creeper World. Did you ever play Creeper World back in the day?
Nope.
Okay. In here, quickly, Google Creeper World. This is a sci-fi strategy game. They just said that. But I would actually call this tower defense. The entire point of the game, it depends on the level, because the different levels have different objectives. Sometimes it's just, mine like crazy, also known as a Jared level.
Whee!
Sometimes you have to just put up a defense for a few waves of enemies. Sometimes you have to build a particular building so many times, like a power generator to power your ship. The story of the game is that you're an AI ship that's picked up a Phantom Signal. Hey, there's the name of the game. And you're chasing this Phantom Signal through the cosmos. And the way the game plays is like Creeper World used to, where you're building a power grid and powering individual structures from a central point. And because this is real time with pause, it gets very Zen-like, where you can just sit and think long enough to build out your power network and power all the miners and everything. And it just kind of clicked for me. It's kind of weird to describe, but it got, like I said, very Zen-like. It's a combination of just watching all the power flicker through the power lines, and the music was done actually really well. Kind of generic space music, but it worked for this. That's not to say I didn't have problems with it, because remember, this is me. The game is very rock, paper, scissors in how it handles its combat. Where if you do not have certain weapon platforms, you cannot defeat certain ships. For example, the missile boat that you start seeing in, I would say, the 4th or 5th level, it stays out of the range of all your laser guns. So the only way you could really defeat it, there's two ways really, but one is a lot more cost effective than the other. You could either quickly build out your network to the point where you're actually in range. Granted, that's very costly and may end up getting your shit killed. Or you have your own missile turret, which has a far larger range and is able to hit the little fucker. And you just hammer on them while your laser guns shoot down any missiles inbound. And the thing is that the missile platform is a research item. So if you did not research that before that level, you are fucked, because you only have so much research points that you could spend. And it becomes a very rock, paper, scissors, at least in the opening levels. And also, certain levels are very trial and error based, where you would see on the mini-map, sometimes the level will say, okay, you're going to get attacked from this direction in 3 minutes. So, build up. And because of the real-time pause, you're able to pause, build out your planned network, and let it run and build in real time and do fairly well. It really, really is probably best played with almost FTL-like, where you do a little bit pause, plan out a bit pause, but at the same time, some levels don't have that feature. So if you don't plan ahead for it, or know that, okay, the enemies are going to come from this direction first, then they're going to come from this direction, you're, well, fucked. And also, some levels, it's very tough to get started on because you're attacked very quickly. So you have to kind of plan that out. But once again, like I said, trial and error. And then there's how it handles difficulty, which is just head-scratchingly weird. It completely segregates easy and hard mode.
What does that mean, completely segregates?
Playing through easy mode does not unlock hard mode missions. You have to play through hard mode in sequence like easy mode. Research in easy mode does not transition to hard mode. The hard mode is a completely separate tech tree, even though it's the same tech tree. It's just strange.
Okay.
So, pretty much, you have to use easy mode to figure out what to do for hard mode and play through the game a second time on hard mode. And on the opening missions, I did not see much of a difference in hard mode. I'm assuming it's later on, but I felt so disinterested in playing through the game a second time because the missions are actually fairly lengthy. 10 to 15 minutes a pop with side missions, and some missions took upwards of 30 minutes, just the longer ones. And that's game time, not counting any pause time.
That's pretty long. Is there? Can you speed up time? If you're not paused,
there is a speed up. You can go pause, half time, regular time, double time, 4 time. So for some missions, once you hit, especially the defense missions, once you mine out the map, you pretty much just fast forward through the wait time in between waves. So I do appreciate the complete time controls. I mean, that is extremely nice. And it's very lightweight, so, it could run on a toaster.
Well, that's good, because I might be playing that on my laptop this week. I've downloaded a bunch of visual novels to play through, but like I told you before we started recording, I just had a busy weekend and didn't get to play games as much as I wanted to, so my list is a little bit short and mostly last minute-ish.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a bad game, and you can see the screenshots. It gives you an idea of what to expect with it. It just hits that kind of Creeper World vibe, and it made me want to pick up Creeper World on Steam, which if you want to get an idea of how this game plays, go to Congregate. Yes, there's a site that you probably haven't thought of in a while. And look up Creeper World. And it's essentially that basic idea, only with spaceships instead of some sort of ooze.
Yeah, I
with Paul's.
One when you first started talking. But yeah, it looks and sounds pretty interesting. And I mean, I got this last week as a review copy.
I mean, it's not bad, but it also hit a certain niche for me because I played a lot of Creeper World back in the day. So I saw some people actually complain about how it was too hard, but I went through, people were complaining about easy mode being too hard, and I went through easy mode without much issue. Granted, I did restart a few missions when I realized, okay, this didn't work, let me try this. But, yeah, I would say if you were a fan of Creeper World, it's definitely worth a look. If you want a different take on a tower defense, which this game has enough variety in its levels and how it plays out that I would suggest trying it if you're interested in tower defense, because there's some missions where you're just tasked to bomb like crazy. There's actually a convoy mission where you have to attack a convoy moving through the map. That actually shows it on one of the screenshots. It's an interesting little game.
Sounds like fun.
So do I need to get the deck of cards of utter boredom?
No, this won't take very long. My first game on my list is Elite Dangerous, and I just have to bitch about something. About stupid video game logic.
Okay, well, while you do that, I'm going to turn on the fan because I forgot to do that before we got started.
Sure, you do that. So, video games. The only system that I had not explored yet or figured out since I come back and started playing is the engineering system, which allows you to upgrade different parts on your ship. And there's a bunch of different engineers, 20 specifically, which I don't mind that part. Each engineer has a specialty, and there are better, sort of higher ranked or higher tiered engineers that can give you better upgrades on your stuff. That's fine. I don't have a problem with that. It's a bit grindy like most things in Elite, but it's cool. No problem. So I finally have got a couple of really, really good ships pretty much kitted out exactly the way that I want them. And I thought to myself, well, now's probably a good time to go start figuring out this engineering stuff, because I know that there are better ones down the line that I'll have to unlock to take larger, better ships to, and, I can just bypass that process now. So I go start checking out the engineers. And the way the upgrade systems work is stupid. Initially, they give you missions that you have to complete to unlock each tier of upgrades that they offer, which, again, a bit video gamey, but I can handle that. So far, the missions have been pretty simple. Go and, one guy, his first mission was just, hey, give me $1 million. And you're like, okay, here's your $1 million. And then a couple of his missions were just buying upgrades from him, which is fine.
$1 million, isn't that like $5 in real currency?
Yeah, something like that. But the next couple of missions from his were just like, hey, upgrade some of your stuff by using other engineers. So that was fine. All of that stuff's fine. It's tedious, a bit grindy, but like I said, that's Elite. Where it gets really stupid and frustrating is that it's not just like, oh yeah, you can upgrade your lasers to do X amount more damage or to be a little bit lighter or more power efficient. Everything has got a fucking roll on it. So you've got a percentage chance that it will do an effect, and then there's a separate percentage chance for how good that effect is going to be. And then there's secondary effects, which can be positive or negative. And then there's experimental effects, which are always positive, but don't always trigger. So to break that down a little bit more.
Can I just have a jalapeno roll instead?
Sure. To break that down a little bit more so that you can understand why I'm frustrated. Right now I'm trying to increase the jump range on one of my ships. And one of the ways to do that is to reduce the weight of the ship. So all of the parts that this engineer can upgrade, I'm making them more lightweight. So I picked the upgrade.
You just tried to die?
Lightness level 1. And do that. So right off the bat, it has a percentage chance to make a part lighter or to fail and make it heavier. It's like 75% chance to succeed and 25% chance to fail. Then on top of that, there's a secondary roll that determines how much lighter or how much heavier it becomes. So it's got a range of between 5 and 10% lighter or 5 and 10% heavier. Stupid.
Okay, I'm going to ask probably the stupid question, but how does it randomly make something heavier?
I don't know. I really don't know. Then there's secondary effects that can trigger. They don't always trigger, but they can trigger, and those can be positive or negative, and they could be completely random. So it could be additional lightness, it could be 5% more power efficient, or it could be 10% less health on that module. Then on top of that, there's the potential to get experimental effects, which vary wildly in what they do. There was one that added additional heat damage to a weapon. There was one I got that increased its recharge rate. There was one that's like, if you use this with this other part, you get this extra bonus. And all of that shit's random. So if you don't get what you want, you have to spend more resources in order to re-roll the effect to hopefully get what you want. And it's not so bad on the early level stuff, because it's just like, give me some iron and some computer components. It's like, great, there you go. There's your iron and computer components. It's like, well, fuck, I guess I'll re-roll it. That stuff's everywhere, easy to find, super cheap. But the higher level upgrades require certain mission specific items that you have to complete long or difficult missions to get. And it's like, well, if this fucks up, I'm fucked. And that's that. And it's stupid. It's so stupid. They're changing it in the coming year, because I'm not the only person who's bitching about this. And they're removing a lot of the random effects and just making it more straight up tiered upgrades. And then there's going to be a separate tier that you can do that attempts to apply random upgrades, and they can be better than just the straight up ones that you can buy. But this whole system is stupid and gamey and dumb.
And no, sir, I don't like it.
Yeah, no sir, I don't like it. Stupid. Also, some of the engineers are also stupid. Because this one guy wanted 1,000 tons of cigars. I'm like, what the fuck are you going to do with 1,000 tons of cigars?
Smoke them.
I guess people live a lot longer in the 34th century.
Not with the amount of cancer he's going to get.
No, definitely not.
That's just... Maybe he's not a person. He's just a walking tumor at this point.
He's got that dude had a really messed up face. Maybe that's more true than I realize. So yeah, that's all I have to say about Elite Dangerous. Just I had to bitch because that system's stupid, and I just went off and said, "Fuck this! I'll wait till they fix it."
So moving along.
Indeed, my next game, Trackmania Turbo. So Katie and I, while the kid was at daycare today, sat down for a few hours and just hung out. And one of the things that we did was play video games for a little while. And we were going through like Steam games and Xbox games. And she thought that this game was a different game we'd played before, which is called Joyride Turbo. And so we played this for a little bit. And Trackmania Turbo's okay. It's a super arcadey...
I played the first Trackmania, not the sequel that this is.
Yeah, it's a super arcadey racing game that does mostly like time trials and stuff. At least if you're playing the campaign, quote-unquote campaign, which is just pre-built levels that the developers made. And it's just time trials and challenges.
Yeah, from
super arcade.
What I remember of online mode on the original game is that it got fucking insane.
Yeah.
There were some tracks that it was, the autocomplete, hold to accelerate, which was interesting, seeing people play their up their creativity, but then it was just, who had the best ping, essentially.
Yeah, I checked out a few custom tracks. Katie took a nap today. And I was still, this was still open on the Xbox. I was like, oh, look at some of the custom tracks. And some of the ones I checked out were pretty fun. Nothing that was just hold gas to finish. But, some people did some wacky stuff with, 100-mile, well, that's exaggerating a little bit, but really, really long jumps or a crazy amount of loops or things like that. And it does seem like the track system is pretty robust because there was essentially... a cylinder that using centripetal force, you stayed on the outside of it as you went up, or not on the outside, but inside, but on the walls as you drove up it. That was pretty cool. And there's lots of background stuff, like things that can explode and helicopters flying past and jet planes. And there's some off-road elements as well. There's 5 different cars, and each car is for a specific track type. So there's one car that's sort of rallycross, and it goes on a mix. There's a car that's specifically a dirt track car. There's an Indy racing car that's for on-road only. There's one that looks kind of like a NASCAR car. I don't know what track that's for. I didn't use a track that used it. And then there's another car that just looks like...
That goes for room.
Just a regular looking car. It's got some pretty decent customization stuff for your car, too. Even though it's... I don't know if this is published by or made by Ubisoft. But even though Ubisoft is involved in some way or another, I didn't see any microtransactions in there. Looks like all of the customization stuff you get by unlocks for, getting X amount of gold medals or completing a set of tracks and things like that. And there's quite a few customizations.
It's published by.
Okay. There's 200 or 300 different paint jobs that you can unlock, and 170 or 180 country flags that you can put on your car. And then there's different... I'm not sure. There were 3 pages. I didn't actually count these out because they were a little bit bigger. But I would guess 100 different decals and stickers and things like that you can put on your car.
Yeah, essentially, if you want to get an idea of what this is like, go check out Trackmania Nations Forever. That's a free version of this on Steam.
Trackmania Nations Forever.
I'm not sure how popular it is these days, but I actually have the paid version, but it's essentially the same idea. Canyons, Turbo. There's Turbo and then there's Canyons, which is also a more focused version of the sequel. This is essentially the same idea where it's just chunks of track thrown together, and it gets absolutely insane. The only real difference between Nations Forever and the paid version, which I'm blanking on and I don't see on the suggested games, Star Edition, is that Star Edition has more customization options as far as I know, and I think it has all the different areas, but Nations Forever has the dirt tracks, which are by far the most populated because it's the free version.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, it was pretty good. I don't think I'll go back and play it on the Xbox, but it's not because it's a bad game. It's because it runs at 30.
Yeah.
Xbox.
A game, it's absolutely, just breakneck speeds, especially the older version. I'm not sure how the newer version is.
Yeah. I mean, even in the starter car and like the training bit in the first few challenge levels, I mean, you're still going 300 miles an hour.
Yeah, I mean, this is
a lot of times.
This is almost F-Zero speeds for some of this.
Yeah.
I mean, hell, the street racing car, which I'm blanking on the actual name of it is, whatever it is, in Star Edition was just stupid fast.
Yeah, it does a pretty good job hiding the fact that it's 30, and it took me a little while to notice it because there's a shitload of motion blur and tons of like particle effects on the screen, which I'm sure if they actually took some of those away, they might could get it running at a decent frame rate. But I was noticing input lag. Just a little bit, but I'm like, that's not right. So I double checked everything first before, and then I sat down and I really looked at it. I was like, this is only running at 30 most of the time.
Yeah, for slower games, 30's fine. It's just this is too fast. Yeah, you're not going to get the twitch response that you really need for this. Particularly some of the online races just are, well, at least in the old version, are absolutely brutal. And thankfully, since it's all time trial, you can see the other racers, at least in the old version. Once again, I'm speaking of, Track Nations Forever. Trackmania Nations Forever. It's that you can see the other cars, but you cannot interact with them directly. There's no collision.
Yeah, I didn't. I was just doing like time trial stuff, so I didn't actually race with any other people.
Well, there's also time trial stuff, and you could turn off the other cars if you really want and just do pure time trial, but...
Yeah. Though probably the thing I liked about it the most, just as like a neat idea, was the way that it does leaderboards. So it breaks it down pretty far. There's the worldwide leaderboard, then you can break it down by country,
then state,
then state. Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. I've never seen that before.
I've seen it a few times, but it's a rarity. It's nice to see it like that, though.
There were roughly 8,000 players in Tennessee, and I was in the top 50% for a lot of the starting tracks, and that made me feel really good.
Yeah, I think, in the top 100 for my state, but granted, there was not many in my state for Track Nations Forever. So, yeah.
I'll probably check Track Nations Forever out on PC, because unless it's locked, I can get 60 plus out of that.
I'm pretty sure it was unlocked.
I don't see why it would be, but you never know. All right. Well, next game on my list is Sunless Sky. I talked about this being a game I was looking forward to this year, and Ghost of You, also known as Ghost Shark, sent me this as a gift. So thank you very much, Ghost Shark, for that. And it was definitely Ghost Shark this time. I double checked. But Sunless Sky is pretty good. I only played it for a couple of hours. I didn't want to get too far into it because it's still in the early access phase. It's not set to release until, when did we say, February or March, something like that. So I didn't want to get too far into it and then they do some big changes or whatever. But, just enough to be able to talk about it. And some of it's a little bit confusing. I'm not sure if I misunderstood or if it's not adequately explained exactly what's going on. I thought this was a like steampunk, airship thing, but actually you're in space. And you drive space trains, like actual steam locomotives in space. So that's pretty cool. That's actually a plus for me because you know how I feel about trains and space things. But I thought it was a steampunk like airship thing. That doesn't really change much, just the theme a little bit.
Yeah.
But I mean, it pretty much plays like Sunless Sea. The biggest difference is how it handles combat. In Sunless Sea, the weapons on your ship had firing arcs. And you know, that was represented, and as long as the ship was in the firing arc and your guns weren't damaged or whatever, you know, you were gonna hit your target when you shot at them. In Sunless Sky, so far the only weapons I have just fire directly forward on your ship. I have you start with a cannon and some sort of shotgun type weapon. So a long range precise weapon and then a weapon for short range combat. And they just fire directly forward. You do have lateral movement, so that might be why they chose to change the way that combat works, but I much prefer the firing arcs for weapons as opposed to having to actually point your ship, because there's no aiming reticle, there's nothing that really indicates where your weapons are going to go.
I really don't like that.
Aside from just aiming the ship. And after a couple of hours, I kind of got used to it, but I don't really like it. It was much better before. I do know that there are some weapons like rockets and missiles and different types of cannons. So maybe it's a weapon-specific thing. I don't know. I haven't had enough or made enough money to purchase any new weapons, so I don't know if that's the case. But definitely the starter weapons, you just have to aim your ship and shoot, and I don't like that. Pretty much everything else about the game, though, is the same. They've added some flair and a little bit of a different artistic style for the menus and the characters that you interact with. I mean, it's still menu-based, read the wall of text. So if you don't like that sort of thing, then this game won't appeal to you. There's no voice acting still. But everything looks a little bit better. There's more character portraits. The menus have got nice borders, and they took some time to make it look nicer. The actual chat system is the same. You still, basically like a dialogue tree, go down through and ask questions and get missions and whatnot. You still get the same sort of events that were in Sunless Sea when you're out flying around. Something will happen, your crew will pop up and say something, or if you kill an animal, you'll get the same dialogue for what to do with it, eat, something like that.
Poke it with a stick.
Yeah. The map is different. So previously there was just a map, and some of the map was always the same. The area around Fallen London was always the same, but there was a certain point that once you got out to it, that map was procedurally generated. At least for the first map, that's not the case for Sunless Sky. There are multiple maps that you go to, and they represent different stars that a major city has been built at. I haven't gotten past the first map because obviously I've only played it for a couple of hours, but they very quickly tell you, basically, oh no, this isn't it. There's much more out there. This is only the first world. Like, there's a character that tells you, yes, we can only colonize a certain area around the dying star, but there are more areas or more stars that you can go to. Or I'm paraphrasing, but a character tells you that, and I'm like, oh, okay. So there's different maps, so that's nice. And the first map is not, at least the first map is not procedurally generated at all, which I kind of like. With how deliberate the dialogue and gameplay progression is in these games, I didn't like the idea of, randomly generated stuff beyond a certain point, because that could make it occasionally where you couldn't complete your character's main goal. As for character creation, it's roughly the same. You get... Actually, they added secondary character traits whenever you create your character, because before it was like, what's your background? Were you a soldier or a poet or whatever? And all of that still exists, and those are your primary starting stats, but then you can tweak it a little bit, and it'll be like, like my character is an academic, so I get bonuses to hearts and something else. I don't remember all of what they call it. But I get more health and more intelligence. And then there's a secondary thing. It's like, what did you study? And then you can choose to either further reinforce the core skills, or you can round out your character a little bit more by saying that you studied something that gives points to essentially like your cunning and your sneakiness or your combat or something. It's got strange names for things. But anyways, that's nice. And then they have a full-blown like character portrait creator now. That's got a bunch of different options. There's like,
so in other words, you say made something hideous?
No, I mean, it's that silhouette, like the first one, so there's not like big details, but I made something that looks kind of like a lady, but not kind of an androgynous looking person, and then my title is Lord. So far I haven't had to eat my crew yet, but I'm sure that'll happen. Because it has the same sort of mechanics of like fear and terror and that sort of
deliciousness.
Yeah. So it's a good start, a promising start. If you really liked Sunless Sea, as long as the combat system either doesn't bug you too much or gets improved, I think Sunless Sky would be a good follow-up. I mean, the quality writing is still there, even in this early stage. There's still, even now, there's a couple of bits I've went to do, and it's like, this will be inserted later in the game, or in a further update, or whatever.
We hope.
But it seems like they're trying to tell a more concrete story this time in the world. It doesn't feel quite so aimless starting out. Because in the first one, it's like you're in this port and you don't know what the fuck to do. And if you haven't played To Fall in London, you don't know anything that's going on. So you just sort of, you don't wander around. You click around all the different menus and talk to a bunch of shit and people and rats. And then you go out and you explore and you immediately are killed by a sea monster. And, it's very brutal. And this one seems like it's a bit less aimless and a bit more gentle to start you out. It actually explains the game to you and then turns you loose. Basically tells you to go to this port town and to talk to somebody, and they give you a mission, and then it takes you to another town. And so, I don't know. I'd really like to see a bigger story told overall with these games. They've got super talented writers and storytellers from both Fallen London and Sunless Sea, so I'm hoping they do something a little bit more with it, but even if they don't, I'm pretty sure I can look past the combat system based on what I've seen so far and still enjoy the storytelling of this game.
Yeah, I never actually went back and played more Sunless Sea. It's just, I think I was at about a point where I was doomed to die pretty soon, and I just was not looking forward to going through all the story bits again. That's kind of the downside of a story-heavy roguelite.
Yeah, this one uses... Sunless Sea did this for your stuff, but this one uses the legacy system for everything, from what I can tell. Because when I did die once on purpose just to see what would happen after, like, you...
Oh, you pulled an Icarus, went too close to the sun? Yeah.
Actually, there are places you can go where there's too much heat and your ship will take damage. But yeah, like, pretty early, within like half an hour, 45 minutes, someone was like, oh, by the way, you can now use this bank to store all of your stuff in, so that if you die, your lineage can have it. So I just went and died, and none of my missions changed, and the stuff that I put in the bank was there, so I assume that they fixed that. It also could be that I didn't have any major missions, so it didn't reset those. More playtesting will be required. But yeah, I enjoyed it. If you, dear listener, played Sunless Sea and really liked that and wanted more of it, aside from the combat change, this is refined, more of the same from Sunless Sea. I mean, right now it's $25. With it being early access, with this being such a story-heavy game, I don't think I'd buy it until it was out of early access. Ultimately that's your decision. But I do think that it's worth the money, as long as you're okay with the change to the combat system. So yeah, there's Sunless Sky. The last game on my list will only take 2 minutes to go through. It's Dig Dug. Xbox live arcade titles are being... I mean, I know Dig Dug's not an Xbox Live arcade title. It's just a port of Dig Dug that they put on Xbox 360 several years ago. But Xbox is pretty consistently every month adding a dozen or so backwards compatible titles to their Xbox One games library. And this last month, they released a whole bunch of the classic arcade titles on their backwards compatible list. And Katie really likes classic arcade games, so we downloaded... And I bought a big arcade pack years and years ago on Xbox 360. So we downloaded Pac-Man and Miss Pac-Man and Dig Dug and Asteroids and several other games that, were part of that pack. And she wanted to play Dig Dug, so we played Dig Dug today for about 30 or 45 minutes. I'm better at Dig Dug than Katie is, but she was pretty good at Dig Dug, surprisingly. She told me she had a friend in high school that had an Atari and an old NES and some of those like plug and play TV games that have, like a dozen classic arcade titles or whatever on them. She said she'd played Dig Dug a bunch before. We had fun. But, I mean, it's Dig Dug. And if you don't know what Dig Dug is, it's a really old arcade title where you dig a hole in the ground, shoot an air pump in monsters, and blow them up. And for some reason, the monsters can kind of turn into ghost things and fly through the ground to get into the tunnels, and they kill you. And you just go until you die. That's it. It's fun, but, it's a classic arcade title. And that's Dig Dug. And that's all the games I played this week.
Yeah, well, actually, about on time.
Hey! We did it for once.
Yeah, no time to celebrate, though.
Nope. Time to move on to our first news topic of the week, which is Nintendo sells the box with Labo.
Oh, this is my headline, by the way.
Yeah, I figured.
What, that was a little facetious?
I figured that it was something that you editorialized.
Can you blame me?
No. This is a weird concept.
Yeah. Weird even for Nintendo, honestly.
Yeah. Honestly,
before we get into this, we should explain what the hell this is.
Well, I was going to say, before we get into this, pause the podcast, it's like 2.5 minutes, go watch the trailer for Labo, and then come back. We'll be here.
Yeah, just waiting.
Because it's going to sound really shitty the way we explain it.
Why don't we put the break music in here so people could come back?
Okay. I might do that.
All right, we're done?
Okay. Yep, you're back? All right, because...
What the fuck?
The reason you went and watched that is because when we say they made something out of cardboard that's kind of cute,
essentially...
You're like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Essentially, this is the old Nintendo Wii... just random bullshit that they had with the controllers, but made out of cardboard.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's... I don't think that's too far off the point.
No. If you didn't go watch the video and you just continued plowing on, like probably some of you did, Nintendo has taken cardboard and made it into little accessories that you can use with your Nintendo Switch to create sort of an augmented reality type experience. In the video, there's it's not exactly a robot suit, but it's the closest thing you could get to one made out of cardboard. And this kid is as he moves the Joy-Cons like nunchucks, it has some
no,
it's not. No, it's not.
He's not moving the Joy-Cons. He's moving these pulleys. The Joy-Cons are actually, as far as I could tell from the robot, the robot's the one that they showed the most action, but not how it worked. I think that at least one of the Joy-Cons are in the backpack reading those pulleys. It's an interesting idea, especially how they're making it work. But before we get into how it works, there's the robot, there's that's its own separate thing. Then there's a piano, a brushbot, one of the little hexbot things that it rumbles and it moves around. There's some sort of kind of falling over cardboard guy, a house.
Yeah, I don't know what that's about.
A bird, and there's something else. They said it was a pack of 6, and the robot is its own thing. Okay. First impressions to you after watching this.
It's really cute, but I don't understand how this is going to work because cardboard is garbage. I worked in shipping for a number of years when I was in college and a little bit in high school, and cardboard boxes just fall apart all the time. And if you specifically reinforce cardboard and make it into sort of like a little cube thing or whatever, it can support a little bit of weight and stand up to a little bit. But, I mean, the way that they show these things being put together, it's just like cardboard cutouts that you fold together.
Yeah, it looks so fucking fragile. Yeah.
And so I don't know who this is for, because adults, I don't want this. I don't want that. And children are going to destroy them immediately.
Yeah, and... that was pretty much my first thought as well. I was expecting you to be all on board for this. Ready, get my wallet out. And I was expecting to be the cynical one, thinking, wow, this looks so fragile. Granted, it's neat, but it's not $70 and $80 neat. I expected this to be half the price at most, and that's with the software. And people are... Maybe this is where we're not in the call to Nintendo, but people are saying, well, that's a good price because it comes with the software. How?
No.
All this looks like mini games. How is it? How does that say it got $60 for the software and $20 for the cardboard? Granted, supposedly. Granted, this is just rumors, and what actually happens. You also get the stencils, so you're able to make replacement parts pretty easily, assuming you have the proper cardboard, because you build it with the wrong thickness, it doesn't work. And all these things work off, well, I shouldn't say all of them, but a good chunk of them work off of reflective stickers. And they're using the IR sensors and the Joy-Cons to read positions. That's how the piano works. And that's actually really brilliant, is that the piano is reading stickers on the back of the keys and noticing the motion in the keys. So it's able to see, okay, key like 3 and 5 are down. So it plays those notes. And it's also able to read the secondary knob thing in the top so it can change the pitch. And that's actually really intelligent. But the thing is that, how hard is it going to be to get replacement stickers if, your kid spills grape soda over the keyboard and, you have to replace all the keys and those stickers aren't going to fucking come off.
Yeah, or if your dog walks across the cardboard and smushes it.
I mean,
now it's all wrinkly and doesn't work.
All the stencils in the world aren't going to replace those stickers.
Yeah.
The stickers could be just simple, reflective things, but at the same time, there could be some sort of, I don't want to call it code, but, a pattern in it to tell the Joy-Con, especially if the piano is the one that interests me the most out of it, just the way it works. And it's also, they showed how the piano works, how the motorcycle game works, which the motorcycle game I'm expecting to last for 15 minutes.
The motorcycle was the one we forgot earlier.
Yeah, motorcycle. Well, they opened up the motorcycle, and it's just this complex thing of rubber bands and string.
Yeah, literally rubber bands and string. So, I think that this is a neat idea, and if Nintendo sold just the stencils, or even just like, I don't know, instructions that you could buy for $5 or $10,
sold the stencil pack, and suggested, retailers with particular cardboard, because that's the thing is that I think people are forgetting just how variable cardboard is, and some of these pieces are absolutely huge.
Yeah.
So it's not just I'll just go get poster board. Doesn't work.
Yep, doesn't work. It's like, I'll just go buy a moving box. That's too thick.
Yeah, and it's also too small because you're looking at just the flat sides.
Right. So
I think people are underestimating just how hard it's going to be to make replacement parts. And
it's a neat concept. It's a fun idea. If it was a lot less expensive, or some sort of PR like free thing that they did, then, that would be great. I'd be all about it. But for what they're charging, it's just like, I don't understand. Who is this for? I'm sure that there are some people out there who are older, maybe teenagers, even adults, who would be like, this is great.
Well, let's put it this way.
Care of it.
I think they showed their target audience with the release date.
When is the release date?
April 20th.
I don't remember that.
I'll give you a moment to puzzle this one out.
No, I got it. It's 4/20.
I mean, that's the only thing I could think of, because it's going to be too fragile for kids, really. And it's probably going to be too small for adults to really do much with. They are, all the packs talk about, different size things, especially the robot pack. And that's what really puzzles me, is that the robot is its own separate thing, and that is $80, if my memory serves correctly, and the other one's $70, or I think that's correct, or close enough. $80 for a robot.
Yeah. I mean, it's nifty, but yeah, I don't get it. And I don't even think this is a maybe I'm old. This isn't a maybe I'm old. I don't think this is one of those situations. I just think this is Nintendo being Nintendo, and they're doing something fucking weird. Because they have to, because they're Nintendo.
Well, here's something else I don't get, is that everybody, well, I shouldn't say everyone, but I've seen several of the larger gaming sites applauding Nintendo for being eco-friendly on this, because they're not filling the landfills with plastic trash. At the same time, can you imagine how much cardboard this is going to be?
A lot.
I mean,
It'll be a lot.
it is a renewable resource,
is,
but still.
Yeah, cardboard's biodegradable and also recyclable, but cardboard is not very space efficient when it comes to, like, getting rid of it. And homes are not going to take the time, like, most people are not going to take the time to properly dispose of it. When it goes bad, they're going to wad it up, they're going to chuck it in their trash.
Yeah, it's not going to go in the recycling bin for most things. And even if it does, it's not going to be disassembled, most likely, so you're going to have the rubber bands in and all the string in it.
It'll be a good fire starter when it breaks. If you have a fireplace or a fire pit, it'll be good for that. Cardboard's really good for starting fires.
Yeah, I am interested in how the technology works behind this, because, well, the robot is a really neat. I think it's likely the neatest one out of the bunch, just with how it works. It all works on string pulleys and weights. And the Joy-Con, or at least one of the Joy-Cons, is likely in the bottom of the thing. It might, maybe the top, but somewhere in that backpack, reading the position of those weights. And it's using that to figure out the position of the robot arms and legs, because it's reading both arms and legs with this. But at the same time, I'm thinking, okay, this works off gravity. The kid is going to be jumping around.
Yeah, it's gonna fall apart.
Well, not just fall apart, but it's not going to read one-to-one very quickly. Because, kid jumps and does a punch move, or, pulls his arm back. There's going to be slack in the line, but, he's jumping around, and it's going to be some delay. And I just don't see this being a $60 game. But maybe it's just I'm cheap.
Well, depending on how, when it comes to the actual content within the minigames, I mean, some of Nintendo's best stuff is minigames. Nintendo Land was one of the better games for the Wii U, and that was the pack-in, like, minigames.
Yeah, but that was pack-in. 1-2 Switch did not sell all that well, from what I've heard. And no. That was a minigame compilation that people complained that should have been a pack-in title.
Wii Sports 2, or whatever it was called.
Electric
Wii Sports
Boogaloo?
Island or something like that. Yeah, that was a solid minigame entry for the original Wii.
Yeah, but...
the original Wii Sports was the pack-in.
Yeah, but the Wii is just this weird thing where it hit a lot of non-gamers, so... Or I shouldn't say non-gamers, but it hit an untapped market, so people were more willing to buy minigame compilations. And to be fair, that was 70-80% of the Wii's library to begin with.
I just don't know what... If the content's good enough, maybe. I don't know. I don't have a Switch. Even if I did have a Switch, I wouldn't buy this. It doesn't work well for anybody in my house. Katie would think it was stupid. I don't see the point. King's too little.
Oh, he's no, he's old enough to completely destroy this.
Yeah, but yeah, I suppose if the minigame content is good enough, maybe. But still,
what if it's laminated cardboard? No, it can't be laminated because they showed people drawing on and decorating it.
Yeah, coloring the house. Well, I mean,
there was a fishing rod as well. Forgot about the fishing rod. Maybe there's some sort of crossover with some of those with the variety pack, but yeah, it's just so weird. It's Nintendo being Nintendo.
Yeah, it's cute. It's a neat idea, but it's a very Nintendo idea, and I don't see the point.
Well, I do. It's going to be in the VGL awards at the end of the year.
Probably. I can't wait to hear some of the other gaming podcasts I listen to talk about this thing. Because, I mean, I won't get it. Even if I had a Switch, I wouldn't get it. Even if I buy a Switch this year, I won't get it. So, but I just want to know what it actually does. You know, how it actually works.
Yeah, I mean, most of this looks fairly simple. The robots in the motorcycle are the most complex looking games, but it's a motorcycle racing game. And those are also the two that look the most interesting to me, but also look the most fragile and likely to break very quickly.
Yeah.
I'm expecting cardboard prices to go suddenly a little bit higher.
I doubt it. Cardboard is so cheap.
Well, I should say Nintendo suggested cardboard.
Yeah.
Or do you think they'll sell refill packs?
Probably.
Because even if they give away the stencils, what we talked about this, it's not going to be easy to replace these things. It's not just finding the proper cardboard in the proper size, because those cardboard sheets that they showed looked like they were fairly sizable. It's also just how complex the pieces are.
Yeah.
And if
there was a gun, I forgot about the gun.
Oh yeah. But so the variety pack probably has a lot of small projects. But just getting the parts with the stencil correct is just going to be. I could only imagine that being a nightmare.
Yeah, you'd have to take a long time to very carefully cut them out.
Yeah, I foresee a lot of refill packs for kids, and parents are probably thinking, "Okay, why am I paying $80 for cardboard?"
I mean, cardboard is pretty cheap, even if you go buy it in the store. But being on the buying in bulk from suppliers, you can get, God, the amount of cardboard what it would cost to make all of this stuff if you bought cardboard from like one of the big suppliers would genuinely be about $2.
Yeah, maybe I'm just being economical, or not economically, but environmentally not conscious. But I'd much rather have this in plastic.
I would too.
Or at least parts of it, not have the entire thing in cardboard, but if they want to have, certain sections of it, plastic and cardboard, it's just so weird.
Yeah, that's Nintendo for you.
Yeah. Yeah, the Japanese are just strange to begin with, and Nintendo's strange for Japanese.
Indeed.
Or is that racist? I can't tell.
I don't think so. At least not in this case. Alrighty. Moving on to our next news topic of the day.
Speaking of cards.
Nvidia's anti-miner retailer advice is just an empty gesture to PC gamers. So this past week, Nvidia made a statement.
AMD's also made one trying to get retailers to just sell to gamers, but not as strong as Nvidia's.
Yeah, and Nvidia came out and strongly suggested that retailers don't sell graphics cards, or at least keep some graphics cards for gamers to purchase, so that they're not at inflated rates.
I think inflated is an understatement at this point.
Yeah,
it's impossible to match pre-made computers right now. Just price dollar for parts. Which it's been this is the first time I think in 15 years that that's happened.
Yeah, it's been a long time since since you could buy a pre-built system cheaper than you could make one. And it comes down to graphics cards and RAM pretty much at this point.
Yeah, RAM isn't nearly as bad. It's looks like it may be starting to level out, but it's still stupidly expensive.
Even the secondhand market has gotten pretty inflated for graphics cards, even several generations back graphics cards. Because in the PC that I just recently built for Katie, I bought a 750 or GTX 750 Ti from eBay, and they have been historically around $40-ish, maybe $50 if you get one of the, the branded ones that has, I don't know, they've got like the big aftermarket fans and shit like that on them. But these were all like in the $60, $70, $80 range. And eBay was running a deal around Black Friday where you could get some eBay credit. So I still managed to get it for about $45. But, the secondhand market has seen inflation. And the newer...
Well, that's just... that's trickled down from, nobody be able to buy firsthand cards anymore.
Yeah. So... The market has gotten crazy. Hopefully, or maybe, with the recent crash in Bitcoin, it's dropped over 50% in value compared to what it was at the start of the year. And then, due to that, and then some other factors like I believe it's Vietnam and South Korea and China are all introducing legislation to much more heavily regulate cryptocurrency because they're having, or at least they're addressing an issue they're having with people using it as a way to launder money. So they want to prevent criminals from using cryptocurrency. And because this is something that is cryptocurrencies in general being something that are global, even though there's no such regulations in the United States or Europe or pretty much anywhere else at this point. I think someone in Russia mentioned it, but that probably won't happen in Russia. But anyways, because the currencies themselves are global entities, they will be affected by this regulation everywhere. And the last couple of weeks has seen a small but steady decline in almost all cryptocurrency values. So maybe this market crash will, or at least market slump, will do something to reduce the amount of people that are going batshit for making mining rigs.
Yeah, which, because all the RAM, not all the RAM, but most of the RAM is going into graphics cards because graphics cards are flying off the shelves because people are buying 50 plus graphics cards. There's been more than once I've seen people posting about, we just wiped out all the stores in the town.
Yeah, there was that Reddit post that was like a boyfriend and girlfriend had bought, there's like 25 or 30 graphics cards stacked up in that picture.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, fuck them and the horse they rode in on.
Haven't heard that in a little while. Yeah, that's good. So, NVIDIA has made similar statements about...
I was saying that the RAM price is suffering from the graphics cards because they're eating up more RAM trying to keep up with demand. Granted, it's not quite the same RAM. It's, there's only so many factories that produce RAM in general.
Yeah, but I mean, they all use the same basic materials. So if a factory is making RAM for graphics cards, VRAM, then they're not making just regular RAM. It feels weird to say that. They're not making
RAM. They're making VRAM.
They're not making SRAM. They're making VRAM.
Well,
VRAM is video RAM. SRAM would be system RAM.
Yeah, and these people that buy 50 graphics cards could just RAM it. Hi-oh.
What I'm looking forward to is in a couple of years.
The crash and people selling off all their cards for cheap.
And you can get like a 1080 Ti or super clocked or whatever, for...
I'd be hesitant to buy those just with the amount of abuse they've suffered.
Well, the biggest problem with it would be the fan, but especially I know that the 1070 and the 1080 both have easily replaceable fans.
Yeah, well, the 480 that I have, it's really easy to replace the fans. As a matter of fact, the company Sapphire sells the fans as their own little thing.
Yeah, you just unscrew the cover and replace the fan.
No, it's not even that. It's simpler than that. They're held in by one screw, and they're their own little module.
Okay, I didn't know that about the 480. Although it might just be the Sapphire 480.
It's the Sapphire 480. It's a specific thing for Sapphire branded. Well, I should say manufactured graphics cards.
Okay, I don't have one of the Sapphire ones, but mine. All you have to do is there's two. Is it 2 screws or 4 screws? It's probably 4 screws. There's 4 screws that hold the cover on, and you can just take the cover off and replace the fan that way. You don't have to do anything else to it. And you just screw the cover back on.
And mine also is proprietary modules, but they're not that expensive.
I know the 1080 is like that as well. You don't even have to take anything off. You just unscrew the fan and replace it. Not even the whole fan. It's just like a bearing and actual fan blade replacement. So you don't have to redo thermal paste or anything. Although honestly, on a mining GPU, I'd probably want to reapply thermal paste to the chip.
Yeah, because I could only imagine the abuse a mining GPU is done. I mean, it had to be running full tilt the entire time.
Yeah, because these won't be people like me who are hobbyist level. Like, I don't run my mining stuff 24/7, and even then, I don't run it at full blast just because I don't want to induce too much extra wear and tear on a GPU. I'll run them at 25 or 50% capacity, something that it would be doing during normal gaming for me when I'm going to do that. Just because, I don't want to lengthen the life of those parts in any way. But NVIDIA have made statements to retailers before, and they've gotten yelled at about it basically by the consumer base and also by retailers being like, you can't tell us what to do. So this just seems like a gentle suggestion, like, hey, maybe sell some of these to gamers too, guys.
If you could sell those to gamers, that would be great.
I don't think that anybody's going to do anything about this,
there's no way to really enforce it unless NVIDIA and AMD does something at the hardware level to try to curb miners. And honestly, that would be unfathomably stupid of them.
Yeah. I mean, from a business perspective, your graphics cards are flying off the shelf. Who cares why people are buying them? On the consumer level, people like you who are trying to build new PC, I mean, me too. I'm set with my personal build for a while, but, people who build gaming PCs are frustrated, understandably so. But from a business standpoint, there's no reason that anybody should do anything about this because they're making money hand over fist.
Yeah, I mean, thankfully I did get my video card, but I'm being hit by the RAM price increase, and I just cannot justify spending more than twice what I had planned for even close to half the RAM. I mean, that's the thing, is that it's not just doubled; it's for the speed I wanted. Closer to tripled.
Yeah. That's one reason why I always build at least 1, maybe 2 generations back. You don't get that much of a performance hit by not being on the bleeding edge, and you save a lot of money.
Yeah, maybe I should
you still would be.
Maybe I should reconsider, but then it would be going to Intel, which is not saving a lot of money on the CPU. So.
Yeah, not unless you want to get into overclocking and stuff. You can some of the unlocked unlocked Intel CPUs can have some pretty high performance if you really overclock
and hit the lottery on them.
Yeah, win the lottery, and also put a pretty substantial overclock on your CPU.
Yeah, but you're still hitting the RAM problem because even DDR3 is way up in price now.
Yeah.
Granted, it's not as expensive, but it's still stupid.
Even DDR2 is up.
Well, I would imagine DDR2 is just nobody's really making it anymore.
It possibly,
but DDR3 is still seeing some use, but at the same time, I imagine it's also reduced production, and people are going back a generation, getting DDR3 and bringing that price up. So the PC manufacturer is just absolutely stupid right now.
Yeah, I believe all the way up to the 6th generation of the Intel's i-series chips are still compatible, or still go with boards that use DDR3. I'm pretty sure at the 7th generation, they now go with boards that use DDR4. Definitely the 8th gen chips do.
So anything else here? It's just, this is just them saying, they're trying to get good press, essentially, because people are pissed with them.
Yeah.
And I can't really blame, NVIDIA and AMD right now, because they just got inundated. And it's not as simple as say, well, just increase your manufacturer. It's not that easy, especially because there's the RAM shortage already from, well, why is there a RAM shortage? There's people talking about the floods, but
cell phones.
And, I was about to say, and cell phones and that sort of thing. And
yeah, smartphone manufacturers have been eating up a lot of the sort of, I guess you could say, world production of RAM the last few years.
And it just hasn't been able to catch up yet.
Yeah, even up until probably 2015, there were still lots of people who did not have smartphones, but pretty much nobody doesn't have a smartphone, at least in first world countries.
Yeah.
I mean, although there's over half the world's population has cell phones, even in what you would think of as third world African countries, what Republicans like to call shitholes. You see what I did there? I'm on a roll. I got Elite Dangerous, cryptocurrency, and a political joke all in the first half of the show. But
I'll just wait till we get to the third half.
Much of the world uses smartphones, and there's been an increase in production in various models of smartphones. There are several new smartphone producers in the game. Google has really started rolling out. I mean, they've had smartphones for a long time, but the last couple of years, Google's had a big increase in smartphone development. And tablets,
Well,
just
even Japan is starting to really get on smartphones, which I know this is going to sound weird, but Japan for a long time would stick with flip phones for some reason. It's some sort of cultural thing.
Yeah.
They just didn't have the jump over to smartphones right away. And I know this is probably not a good way to put my point across, but just look at anime in general. Pretty much every time you saw a phone, it would be a flip phone.
Up until more recent years. I don't know if this is true. I read on some news article somewhere actually talking about this, that they said that it was cultural, like it was just considered rude to be staring at your phone all the time. But
Japan is
really true or not.
Well, it's a different culture. And please don't be like Paul Logan.
Oh, you got one too. You got one in too. Way to go.
Oh, it wouldn't kill me to do a joke like that.
Also,
I'm pretty sure the body didn't make a noise.
Ooh.
Sorry, but I'm not even. I'm not even talking about that particular video. I've watched a few other Japanese vloggers talking about him, and he was an absolute dick in Japan in general.
Yeah.
But
it's just a prank, bro. It's just a prank.
I mean, when you're dressed up as Pikachu throwing a plushy Pokeball at pedestrians, you're an asshole.
Yep. Anyways, moving on, I think.
Yeah.
Did you have anything before I just...
Not really. I'm hoping to eventually build, but I just sat down and I looked at the price and I just couldn't really justify it.
Yeah. Fair enough. Fair enough. I've said this a couple of times on here, but hopefully my gaming PC lasts about 2 more years.
I mean, I sat down and I looked at Black Friday and I was looking at prices, and the most expensive part I would be buying wouldn't be the CPU. It would be the fucking RAM by a significant margin. And I couldn't do it. And this was motherboard, RAM, 2 hard drives. I was just going to transplant into my current case, so I was going to recycle the case. It's just, I couldn't bite the bullet.
Yeah. Whenever I build a new PC next time, I'm just going to go full out. We talked off recording about my case issue.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to go through that. This will just become another PC in the house somewhere, and I'll just build a completely new one from scratch. But I don't know if I'm gonna go with a Ryzen 7, like this generation of Ryzen 7.
Well, isn't AMD releasing another generation of the Ryzen? So the current Ryzens will start dropping in price, most likely.
Right.
That's also something that kind of held me off, was I was hearing rumors of that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in a couple of years, whenever I do this, like I said, I always go back a couple of generations. So I don't know if I'll go with this generation Ryzen 7 or this generation of the i7, the 87 whatever K.
Yeah, right now I'm just
Although just for shits and giggles, I've considered buying one of the Intel like 18 or 20 core CPUs just to be like, fuck it, I'm done. Never need another CPU ever.
Never say never with computer parts.
Very true. Very true. I won't need a new one until this one dies.
Speaking of dying.
Yes, indeed. Anyways, Activision's Destiny 2 is struggling as gamers are unhappy over microtransactions.
So which controversy are we talking about then? Because this has more controversy. Well, not more, but close to as many as the president.
It's just overall general fatigue is the sense that I get from this. I mean, the last 3 months from Destiny.
Well, it's been a vicious cycle. They've released an update or launched the game. We'll count that as the same. Gamers find something that's either fucking stupid, broken, or manipulative.
Or a combination.
Yeah, or a combination thereof. Bungie apologizes, releases patch, repeat cycle.
Yep. And that's happened 4 or 5 times.
I think we're up to half a dozen now.
Yeah, okay.
Because
so
there's
then.
The XP thing, there was 2 events there that I don't even follow the game, and I've heard about all these, by the way.
They locked out content from people who didn't have the expansion.
Yeah, XP gating, or paywalling, I should say, existing content. And I'm sure we're forgetting a couple.
Yeah. And I will say on that one...
And that's 3 months.
MMOs do that.
Occasionally.
If you don't have the... But Bungie's like, we're not an MMO. We're not an MMO. And people were defending them. Well, that's what MMOs do.
Well, here's the thing. Is that when an MMO does it, usually it's to completely rework the content. See what World of Warcraft did when it removed a raid to redo it, and it put it behind the expansion content because it was fucking reworked. And add to the fact that they paywalled raid content. Was it raid or just whatever?
It was raid.
Raid content 2-3 weeks after the PC launch. It was even a full fucking month.
Yeah.
I'm really starting to think that Halo was just a fluke.
Well, I mean, the Bungie...
I realize that Bungie now is not the Bungie of then, but still. It's just... Even not just Destiny 2. Destiny 1 also had these issues. And they should have fucking learned from the first game, and they didn't. And people bought this game thinking, oh, it's going to be better this time. Well, guess what? You're caught in a vicious cycle where you Destiny get fucked in the ass, and then they apologize and buy you dinner afterwards.
Destiny 1 wasn't as bad as Destiny 2 with a lot of these things. They never locked anybody out of content. It's just you couldn't, if you didn't have the new stuff, then you couldn't do the new stuff. But nothing was ever locked away from you. They didn't have microtransactions. All the cosmetics weren't one-time use. I mean, Destiny 1 had its own set of stupid problems that Destiny 2 fixed some of. Like, not having an actual story and all of the lore being outside the game on the website. But Destiny 2 now has a free trial on... Well, it's on everything. The Xbox, PS4, and PC. But you can play the game up to level 7, which people have said is like the first several hours of the campaign. And that if you buy the game afterwards, you can keep going. And it originally didn't have that. Like, that's come out in the last month than a
Well,
half.
after hearing everything about Destiny 2, no thanks.
My assumption is that they want people to try it so that you'll get invested
Yeah,
and then buy into it.
The first hit's free.
Yep.
Which, I do applaud them for having a demo, but they're fucking shady, so it feels odd talking about Bungie like this.
Yeah. I mean, the original Halo trilogy, awesome games by Bungie. Then they lost roughly half their team.
Word on that one.
Then they lost roughly half their team when Microsoft actually bought out Halo and rolled that into 343 Industries, which has made all Halos 4 and 5. And then Destiny was, at its core, a really good playing game, but it had a lot of issues with design. And then Destiny 2 fixed a lot of the issues with design, but then has now gotten into the modern day shady as shit, let's exploit all of our players BS.
In other words, they become a AAA gaming platform.
Pretty much. I've heard from people who have played Destiny, they've been like, man, if it just, even like Jim Sterling, who's like, if this game just didn't have all this bullshit in it, it would be a really good game that I would recommend to people. But it's so shady and manipulative and all of that jazz. Sad day. But at least, I think this is a good thing. People are leaving the game enough that they're worried about it.
Yeah,
because they don't want to put up with this garbage.
This is what's linking to is an analyst talking about how the game is struggling and they're seeing they're foreseeing profit loss for Bungie, which is not unfathomable at this point. I mean, there's also the entire petition about removing the Eververse, which is their in-game store that a good chunk of progression seems to be tied to.
Yep. You have to go there anyways to decrypt bright engrams, which are like
loot boxes,
the equivalent of loot boxes. Those were in the first game too. They were just randomized loot drops. But the ones that you get in the game, like, you unlock from there and you don't have to pay any money, but also that's where you can buy them. Yeah, so it's like, oh, I'm going to unlock this one. I didn't get what I want. Well, maybe I could buy a few and see if I get what I want then. So, yep. Thanks, but no thanks. I'll just be sad that that Destiny 2 was a letdown and move on and play one of my other many hundreds.
Sorry, can't hear you playing Warframe.
Oh.
Sorry, Rhino's codpiece could only be so erect.
Wink. All right. Next topic.
Okay, so next up is the anti-piracy firm Denuvo acquired by, how do you pronounce this again? Ardetto, to protect the gaming industry. And just hearing the phrase "protect the gaming industry" just sends shivers down my spine.
Did you put that in quotes?
That's the article. That's not editorialized.
Okay. Then Ardetto must have said that they were doing that. When I read that, I initially thought, oh, someone's buying Denuvo and they're gonna, I don't know, make it not garbage or not use it on games anymore.
Yeah, that is on the article itself. You can look and see. I did not put that there.
Yeah, but it looks like Ardetto is also an online security firm or?
Yeah, I'm just the world leader in the digital platform security. This feels shady to me. I don't trust this. Maybe it's just I don't like Denuvo in the first place because there's a lot of scuttlebutt going around with just how it impacts game performance. And there's been a few games. Was it Hat in Time? No, it wasn't Hat in Time. There was one of the new retro 3D platformers that had Denuvo but didn't implement it very well. And it was doing just all sorts of oddball checks. And it was just crashing game performance.
Ardetto or Denuvo?
Denuvo.
Okay, all right. Just making sure we're on the same one. Yeah, Denuvo's caused problems in multiple games before. One of the Assassin's Creed games was unplayable because of Denuvo.
Well, Assassin's Creed Origins is seeing performance drops because of the CPU problems that's been going around. Because of how it handles Denuvo, because it does a virtual machine to protect Denuvo while it protects Assassin's Creed, which we've seen articles come out before about how piracy doesn't really impact sales because the people that are pirating are doing one of two things. They're either using it as a demo to see, just how the game plays, because honestly, games marketing sucks.
Yeah, it does.
And games journalism sucks even harder. Unless you find a YouTuber that you could really trust that covers these games, there's really no way to get an objective opinion. Because there's just so much slimy stuff in games journalism. And sort of pseudo-astroturfing of marketing. I mean, it's really hard to trust a review when the site you're going to has a themed ad set for that game. At least in my opinion. It's a little hard to think that PC Gamer is being objective if they have their site themed around Assassin's Creed Origins, if I'm reading an Assassin's Creed Origins review on that site. Granted, I never did that. That's just an example, but still. So seeing them talking about protecting the gaming industry by purchasing the Denuvo and rolling it into their own thing is just... I don't trust this.
Yeah, I don't either.
And
although I don't like DRM anyways.
Or obtrusive DRM like this. I mean, Steam is technically DRM, even though it's more of a platform these days. But let's see. Hackers and cyber criminals in the gaming space are savvy and always have been. It is critical to implement robust security strategies to combat the latest gaming threats and protect the investment in games. As much as like the movie industry, because that is a good comparison that you want to fucking make. It's the only way to ensure great games continue to be made, said the managing director of Denuvo in Endaro. So, yeah.
His name's Reinhard. Reinhard Blaukovich.
Gesundheit.
I think that's how you say his last name.
I mean, do you really want to make a comparison to the movie industry?
Yeah. No. And also that's a false statement because most indie games don't have DRM unless they are sold through a site like Steam. So, and that's not been a problem for them. As far as I know, there are still some AAA level titles that don't actually include DRM either. Or they don't use Denuvo, they use something in-house, and a lot of times once it's broken, it gets removed anyways. Because once the cracked version is out there, there's no way to get it back.
And the other problem with Denuvo that a lot of people don't really talk about is that, okay, it phones home occasionally to check to see that, it's still good. What happens when those servers go offline?
Yeah, this was actually the problem that it had with one of the older Assassin's Creed games. I don't remember which one it was, but
the broken one. Oh wait,
it was put in the way that it was implemented. Something was broken with it, so if you weren't always online, then it would immediately close your game and think it was a pirated copy, because it instead of checking in every so often, it was constantly every few seconds checking in.
Yeah, just. I don't want to make it sound like, we're flying the Jolly Roger, well, all the time. But it's just really hard to get behind this, really. And then there's the whole rumors, which have supposedly been disproven, that Denuvo and its constant encryption was causing trouble with SSDs, which I doubt is true, but at the same time, it could be some sort of edge case as well. And it could just be when Denuvo's implemented poorly, which that has never happened except for the half dozen cases that we talked about already.
Plus more that we're probably unaware of.
Or just simply, forgetting about. It's just...
yeah.
Supposedly, I've been reading online a little bit about this, that they're thinking about using it as a pseudo anti-cheat thing on console games because of the way Denuvo works, which also seems, odd.
Yeah, we briefly talked about this before the show, and as someone who has recently, still does occasionally play games on console.
Granted, that's just speculation.
I don't understand if they do that. I don't understand how or why, because these online environments on consoles have become, they're walled gardens. You have to play by their rules, otherwise they kick you out. So the only way that this would prevent anything is on that one fringe case where someone's gotten a hold of a dev console or just heavily modded one of their own consoles and are playing games offline, or are genuinely really good hackers and have somehow figured out a way to connect a modded console to one of the online services. I know Xbox Live, if it detects that your console is modded, they immediately terminate your Live account and ban your console on based on its MAC address, and it'll never work again on Xbox Live. So I don't know what the point is of them speculating that they're going to do something with that, but who knows? Maybe they'll find some new way to fuck it up.
Well, I guess we'll have to wait and see, but I'm just imagining Denuvo's overhead on consoles. That's going to be fun to watch as the consoles burst into flames.
Modern consoles already run pretty tightly because instead of just being a way for games to be played, just the software component that runs whatever content's on the disc, they're now full-fledged operating systems, just like tablets or your phone. There's a certain amount of overhead they have anyways to just run the operating system. That's one of Xbox, the Xbox One, the original launch, and even the One S to some extent had, because they had too much overhead and they weren't able to use the full performance. Yeah, too much bloat, and they couldn't get the full performance, which granted was not a ton, but you shave 10 or 15% off of what you've got right off the bat. You might as well just shoot off one of your own feet and then go run a mile.
No thanks, I'm close to that already.
That was one of Kinect's big problem. In its original release, it was using something like 10% of the Xbox's processing power at idle.
Ew.
Just because it was set by default to always be on and listening for commands and stuff.
Yeah, the Kinect had its own issues as well, so I just don't get this.
Who knows? Probably looks like a good move from a business standpoint. I just don't understand that business. Also, I don't understand its practical application, but if they think they can make money off of it, that's why they're going to do it.
So, other things we don't understand?
Is that a way to segue to the next topic, the next news topic?
Let's go with it.
All right, John Cena is in talks to start a Duke Nukem movie.
Yeah, Jim also linked this, but I saw this independently, and it's a slow news week. I kind of see where a Duke Nukem could work, but I don't think it would. It's just, Duke Nukem is so over the top that I don't think even Michael Bay, who's attached to this, would be able to do Duke Nukem justice. Never mind the fact that John Cena is lacking, I would say, about 50 pounds of muscle to beat Duke Nukem.
John Cena could be Duke Nukem with a little bit of a bodysuit and some CG effects.
And voiced over by John St. John.
Yeah, but John Cena can do the camp. He can play the part. I've seen John Cena do a few other movies and a couple of games outside of WWE stuff. John Cena just has fun with it, and that's what you need for this sort of movie. But Michael Bay's not a good choice, because Michael Bay wouldn't be able to make this funny. He'd try and do it really seriously. You'd get another Transformers.
Transformers with tits.
Lots of tits. Oh, you've already got those, though.
Yeah, but these are exposed tits. That's completely different.
The breasts would be exposed for our pleasure.
This would be a hard R.
Hi-oh. But, yeah, I don't think Michael Bay could really do it justice, because he would try and turn it into something that Duke Nukem is not, which is schlocky, 80s style action comedy.
Or they'll try to give Duke Nukem a backstory to make him a sympathetic character. Duke Nukem is not a likable character.
No, the best way that they could do it. Have you seen the newest or the most recent Judge Dredd movie?
No.
It's just called Dredd. Okay, I'll have to get you a copy of that without maybe by waving the Jolly Roger. Actually, I think I have a digital copy. Anyways, if they did this like movie like the Dredd, the newest Dredd movie, I think it would work really well because the new Dredd. You just have to watch it. I don't want to spoil it.
It's that over the top.
It's done.
It's that over the top.
No, it's not. It just captures the spirit of the Judge Dredd character from the comics, and I think that style.
I've heard it's very different from Sylvester Stallone. I am the law.
Oh yeah, it's very, very different from that in a good way. And I think that if they did Duke Nukem like that and then just sort of turned on the schlockiness a little bit, like just turn the schlock dial a little bit, up, it would be perfect. I said before we were recording that I thought that Uwe Boll should do this one. Like, he makes terrible movies, but one of the best ways you could do a Duke Nukem movie is make it so bad it's good. And a couple of Uwe Boll's films are so bad they're good.
Problem is that Uwe Boll wouldn't have the budget to do it properly.
You'd still probably get John Cena. Oh, but yeah, that would be a problem. I can't think of any director though who could do
I'm just foreseeing this being sort of like Doom, where yes, it kind of is on par, but it just doesn't hit.
Yeah.
Or they try to go in the video game direction of it too much. And not make it an interesting movie. Because that's the other problem with Duke Nukem, is that he's a paper-thin character. So so you can't really have much of a story there.
Yeah, Duke Nukem is a caricature of 80s action movie stars. And 80s action movie stars were already pretty thin. So I don't really know what you could do with him except keep him that way without completely ruining the spirit of the film. I don't want to see some art house director try and turn this into something. I don't want to see Michael Bay.
I don't want to see Duke Nukem past his prime trying to fit into a world that he doesn't belong in anymore, because that could be a good story, but that's not a good Duke Nukem story.
J.J. Abrams could do it. He made pretty decent adaptations of the Star Trek films. I mean, they're not they're not old Star Trek. I'm going to
respectfully disagree on that one.
Especially if he did like what he did with Into Darkness, because Into Darkness turned the schlock factor up quite a bit. He could do that. J.J. Abrams could pull it off. And that's fine. I don't want to get into another hour-long Star Trek, Star Wars, sci-fi discussion. One, we don't have time, and two, we've had that before. But I think J.J. Abrams could do it.
I'll just... assuming this ever gets made, because in talks with no writer and just Michael Bay being interested, there's this is very pre-production.
Yeah,
I don't see this being made, to be perfectly honest. But then again,
I don't either.
There is the chance that it could surprise me. I mean, we do have Deadpool.
Yeah. Yeah, we do have Deadpool. I was about to say, well, we've had Deadpool and Logan in the last couple of years, like these hard R properties.
Mm-hmm. So it could work, but it would need a proper director. It would need someone that respects the Duke. Oh,
Joss Whedon.
No. Lazy game reviewer. We bring him in. For those who don't know, he does Duke Nukem very often, and every time he does a retro game or retro PC look, he always fires up Duke Nukem 3D. So, yeah.
Nice. All right, I have to do one quick aside because I thought of this after I said we weren't going to have a Star Trek discussion. Have you seen that Quentin Tarantino is directing the next Star Trek film? Quentin Tarantino is directing the next Star Trek film.
Not sure how I feel.
And I'm not sure... Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm excited about that because I love Tarantino.
In the Kelvin universe, or
I don't know. I think so.
Because I only really watched the first of the new Star Trek movies, and it was okay, but it didn't feel like a Star Trek movie.
Yeah. No, the first one was okay. What was the second one called? Star Trek Beyond?
Yeah, whatever.
Whatever. It wasn't as good. But then Into Darkness was a lot better. That was the third one. I think they finally got it right for modern Star Trek. I mean, if you don't like that sort of thing, that's fine. I totally understand that. We both grew up on Trek. I just happen to like schlock a little bit more than you do. A lot more. But, if you don't like that sort of thing, that's fine. But I think they got it right with Into Darkness for the Star Trek in the modern age. And I don't know what the hell they're going to do with Quentin Tarantino. Like, it's supposed to be, like, dark and gritty, and the dialogue should be good, at least.
You're not selling me on this.
I wonder how he's going to work his racial slurs in there. Because in every movie, Tarantino has to use some form of racial slur. I wonder how they're going to do that with Star Trek.
You see, this is how the Federation Klingon War starts. It just has Kirk walk up to a Klingon. Then it's bleeped out for 5 minutes.
I'll go see it. I think I'll probably like it as a Tarantino film. I don't know if I'll like it as a Star Trek film. That's the thing. But who knows? If it's got a Deep Space Nine vibe, because Deep Space Nine was a lot darker.
I did. Deep Space Nine is my favorite of the Star Trek series, but it does have its schlocky episodes, but at the same time, it's overall more serious, and it's also a lot less idealistic.
Yep.
I know. Maybe I'll give the Tarantino one a shot if I don't have to see the other ones. I mean, that's also the thing, is that if it's a continuation of the story, then I'll probably be lost and not really care.
The others aren't really sequels in a sense. They're just the next Star Trek series in the universe. The second one has some callbacks to the first one, but at that point, it's just like, okay, we're the Enterprise crew, and this is our adventure we're going on this time.
So. Yeah, Kirk boldly going to fuck every sentient woman.
Every green-skinned woman in the universe. Some blue ones as well.
Is that... I thought the women were blowing him.
Hi-oh.
Yeah, maybe on a particular planet, who knows. Hey, when in Rome.
That's right. Alrighty. That is our last news topic for the week. I need to take a short break. And we are back from a very, very quick break on our end, even quicker for you guys. But we are going to do Discovery Queue first this week. It's been...
over a month?
Oh, God. A month? Yeah, since we've had a Discovery Queue. We've had so many topics and games to talk about. So we just want to make sure we get it in this week, although I think we would have made it regardless.
Yeah, but Discovery Queue is always the casualty if we're running long, so let's hit the music.
Indeed.
Yeah, and immediately I get one of the games that you had on your game list, so what the hell?
Sunless Sky?
No, you're looking forward to games. Sword Art Online Fatal Bullet.
Oh, okay.
I'm just adding it here because I thought it was funny it popped up. Not a lot to really talk about it because you already talked about it.
This looks interesting. Grabbing the link and then I'll start talking about it. It's called Nantucket.
Oh, yeah, that's a really interesting. It's a whaling game. And it's also about a man from that town.
Yeah.
Turns out he wants to fuck his ear.
Hey-o.
Sorry.
But yeah, it just looks like you've got a whaling ship and you can upgrade it and make changes to it, and you go whaling. Sailing whaling. It seems pretty cool. Liv Ishmael's story, the sole survivor of the Pequod. Yeah, it's a few years after the events narrated by Herman Melville.
Yeah,
in his masterpiece Moby Dick.
I was about to say it's essentially a sequel to Moby Dick.
That's cool.
It's a very interesting looking game. Supposedly it's not very long, and it's essentially a roguelite. But it's something that popped up after we did our list. So, But here is an interesting looking one. Full Metal Furies. From the creator of Rogue Legacy.
This one was just popped up on my list too. I was about to put it, but you can have it.
An action RPG, fully cooperative, so online co-op. I hope. Doesn't look like it. It looks like local co-op only, which saddens me. What do you think about this? The fact that it doesn't have online co-op, I think, is a killer for me, though.
Yeah, this looks really, really interesting. I like the art style. I like strategy games. And does this say turn-based strategy? Or
it looks like real-time. They said action strategy, so.
Okay. Yeah, it looks like it's got RPG elements as well, character upgrades and things. I mean, I'm all about this.
Yeah, I mean, you're more likely to play it than me because you have a local player too.
Wait, it says online co-op right here.
I was looking at the tags. It said local only. So
on the little thing, single player co-op, online co-op, local co-op.
All right, so maybe we can play together. Also found another interesting looking one. Pretty much immediately, Forged Battalion.
Forged Battalion?
Yeah,
okay.
I just put it in. It's from Team 17, or published by them. I'm looking at the developer to see what else they've made. Developer of Grey Goo. So they have a bit of a RTS background. It's in early access, so take that with a grain of salt. It looks like it has some customizable units in it, which is interesting. You're able to build out your units for pretty much how you want, and it's an RTS.
Oh, I've seen this game on Keymailer. I requested a key like 2 weeks ago, maybe. I don't think I'm going to get it, but...
Yeah, I didn't see this before, cool. I don't think. Yeah, it's a very... I like the art style on it. It's very cartoony. Very bright colors. It has a pixelation on some of the effects. I'm not sure if that's meant to be or if it's just JPEG being JPEG.
Yeah, artifacting. Yeah. No, this looks really good. It reminds me a lot of the Earth 21 whatever series.
Well, just look at looks like it has proper base building in it as well, which is something that RTS has kind of been skipping. Is proper base building as well. Not just build small factory. It looks StarCraft level base building, which is perfectly fine by me. I'm a little concerned on how they'll do balance because customizable units always is an Achilles heel of RTS. I remember in Impossible Creatures where pretty much if you didn't build something that had a whale in it that added a lot of HP, you were just going to be screwed. So they're going to have to be very careful on the customizable units.
Yeah, Earth 2160 has done it the best out of any RTS game I've seen, and each vehicle had certain customization options that you could do to it, and you never could really completely change a vehicle, but everything had a balance to it. So more armor made your vehicle slower. More weapons usually meant less armor.
Yeah, it looks like they are
etc.
definitely taking some inspiration from their Grey Goo game because looking at the UI, it looks very different. Looks like all the different vehicles have their own abilities that they are able to use, or a class of abilities, I should say. Looking at the different screenshots, it's a little hard to tell though. Or this could just be a particular mission. It's always rough to tell.
Yep. So I got one. Ascendant Hearts. This is just a visual novel, but it's a cute looking visual novel that it says you wake up in a fantasy world, and I'm all about that. It says it's got RPG elements to it.
Yeah, I've seen this one before. It's interesting looking.
One of the main reasons that I put it on the list is that in the description it says that it's a parody of traditional MMOs. I don't know what that means specifically. I know what a parody is, but I don't know what they mean by that. But on the off chance that it's actually a really good parody or satire, I'm all about that stuff. So I hope that it's like that. Oh, I got Forge Battalion 2. I'll just get past that one.
Yeah, that's not rated very well, so I'll skip that.
Ooh, what is this? Battleship Bishoujo. It's another visual novel. God, those girls have big boobs. And that's a cat? No, a phoenix girl? Join the girls on a non-stop
so
naval
when she gets
adventure
old,
to
do you
unravel
just
the
kill her?
secrets and both legendary creatures. I mean, I'm obviously I'm buying this. Also, I'm going to put it in right now.
Hey, look, I got Metal Gear Survive. Not interested.
If it wasn't made by Konami and full of garbage, actually Metal Gear Survive looks pretty interesting to me, but it is full of garbage, so yeah. It's not Bishogo. Bishoujo. How much is this? $13.
Oh.
That's $13 in a good way.
Yeah, I'm done here. My queue's over.
I know why I'm getting so many visual novels in this queue. I've played like 3 visual novels since the last time we did a queue, and they've all been in like the last 2 weeks. This one doesn't look very good though.
Well, that never stopped you before.
Memories of Mars. What is this? A horror survival? No, thank you.
Here, I just went to Battleship Sojo, and I don't think anyone's tits are smaller than their heads.
I know, it's great, right? This looks cute. A sky full of stars.
Why does that sound familiar?
Coming of age astronomy tale by the same team who brought you If My Heart Had Wings. Here's the link. I'll definitely put this one on the list. It's only $17. I assume, well, $18 if you don't have the discount. I assume it's shorter than If My Heart Had Wings.
Yeah, this looks very familiar. I must have seen this before. I didn't add it to my wish list.
Right, my last game, Galaxy Girls. Another visual novel. One day you wake up on a spaceship with several other women, each one given a different job on board. Ship,
Wait,
doctor,
what?
Engineer, and you as captain.
That's a thing?
Can you complete the mission that has been forced upon you and save humanity? I mean, I assume that this is a visual novel booby game, because they're all sitting around the table in lingerie eating dinner.
What you don't do that?
Add to wish list. How much is it? $13.
I'm looking at the discussions for Battleship Sojo, and people are calling it a pedophile game. How?
How?
And unless children in other countries have tits, I think there's something wrong here.
Actually, I like the sci-fi art style for Galaxy Girl. Beyond just the girls, like, it feels like it's inspired a bit by... Oh, who's the guy who did the designs for Dune and the original Alien movie?
I'm blanking out. I'm in the screenshots now. There's a turtle girl. I'm sorry. I had to see. I was like, what? Okay. How crazy did they get? It's not just turtle girl, giant turtle girl, as in bigger than your ship.
Wow. That sounds cool. H.R. Geiger is who I was thinking of. Couldn't think of his name. But, I mean, Geiger's got a very distinct sci-fi style, and this feels like it was inspired by some of his designs. Although, honestly, it's hard to tell, because Geiger's... Is he dead? I know he did... Yeah, he died.
Oh, did you kill him? He's not a Phoenix girl. He doesn't come back.
But, Geiger did design work starting out in the 60s, I believe. Definitely in the 70s, but I think he started in the 60s doing sci-fi designs, so it's hard to say if this is directly inspired by Geiger or just reminiscent of some of his works, but regardless, it's cool. I like it. It feels a bit more thoughtful than just anime boobies. Could be wrong. I've been wrong plenty of times before, but still looks pretty good. So yeah, that's my queue. That was the last game on my queue.
And don't forget to send that over to the other document eventually.
Indeed. I'll need to do that later before I clear it out.
Yeah. Overall, not a bad haul. Granted, you got a lot of trashy novels, but those are kind of your thing. Well, we need to get you on better novels.
I mean, Sky Full of Stars doesn't look trashy.
Not true.
I like things that also aren't trashy, but I do like I like my schlock. I really like my schlocky things.
Are you saying schlock or schlong? I can't tell.
Schlock.
Oh.
I need things that make me laugh and smile. My career path is full of talking to sad people, and the world is very sad. For a while, I just want to hide away and be immersed in a silly, ridiculous, schlocky story about girls on a battleship whose boobs are bigger than their heads.
And giant turtle girls whose boobs are bigger than the battleship.
Yeah, I have to go look at that, by the way. Where is that? Is it in under the discussions?
It's in the screenshots.
Okay. Where's
There's also a giant mermaid. That's hardly that's hardly notable these days.
Oh my god, that is a giant turtle girl. Her boobs are also bigger than her head, but she's as big as the ship.
Probably bigger, because remember, she's off in the distance.
Is that a cat girl?
Once again, hardly notable these days.
Actually, I think that's more of a zebra girl.
Did you have a feeling that some of these authors are just sitting with a big book of animals like, no, I've seen that one, seen that one, seen that one. Hey, Badger Girl.
Why is there... Never mind. There's no point. This game has a giant turtle girl. The thing I was about to say doesn't really matter. If I can accept giant turtle girl, I can accept swashbuckling 18th century pirate girl.
Honestly, that's about the normal girl, most normal girl in that. So, quick community corner, and then start shutting down.
Indeed, let's do it.
Well, it's a question, isn't it? So, don't you ask the questions? Because we don't have any emails, and we do have a couple tweets, but we'll do tweets after.
I was taking a sip of my tea. Also, I was thinking you were going to do the tweets. We haven't done a question in a few weeks because our wonderful...
Well, the only tweets have been Kyle going absolutely nuts with his snake, which sounds a little risque out of context.
It's risque even in context, I
think. Kyle has become that one guy, only with over a snake. And also, Ghost did a test stream. How did that turn out? Because I skipped it because I didn't want to ruin story content.
I was unable to be there because of things that happened this weekend, which I'm not going to go into here, but you know about sort of the hectic weekend that I have. But I did speak to Ghost, and it did not go well. He was having problems with his internet, so he ended really early. But Ghost, I would encourage you to try again, because I would love to have more people streaming. And it's quite easy to host another stream as long as they're on Twitch. Ghost was using Mixer, Microsoft's new streaming service. But if anyone in our audience wants to stream on Twitch, originally I had this plan to share my stream key with a few people and have like a streaming team, but then I got really nervous about doing that, so I decided not to. I trust the people here now, but in the future, if someone knows that, people on the internet can be weird.
Oh, damn. I was just going to start streaming a poopy game.
But it's very, very easy to host another Twitch stream on your Twitch stream. So anyone who's interested in streaming and wants to start streaming on Twitch and wants VGL to promote you a little bit and have a second place for your stream to show up, get in touch with me and we can set up hosting for your channel. Anyways, that also, Ghost, try it again. Next time, unless something else crazy happens, I'll be there.
Anyway, question time?
Yes, question time. This question comes from Jim3535. It's from several weeks ago. Like I said, we've had good community corners full of things, so we haven't used questions. But his question is, what is the most shameful thing you have done in a video game?
I think it really depends on your definition of shameful, because I have kept prisoners in RimWorld for parts. As in, I had a bunch of captures that were lacking a kidney. Hey, that guy has 2 kidneys. I mean, he's not too attached to him, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's just efficient gameplay right there, but I could see how someone might think that it's a little bit shameful to keep someone around for spare parts.
Well, I'm sure they'll turn a blind eye to it, especially after I'm done with them.
Yeah. So I've been sort of tooling away at this in the back of my mind the whole show, and I have a problem.
You have no shame.
I have no shame, so it's really difficult for me to think of shameful in any context.
How about we just go with your visual novel library?
I suppose you could say that, but I did think of one example that I kind of felt bad about it for like 3 seconds, and then I was like, whatever. So in KOTOR, that's Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, later on in the game, there is some lady on Tatooine. It's just like a random side quest person that you can interact with. And she is in a very bad state. Like her husband has died or is lost or something, and she sends you to try and find his stuff, find out if he's alive or recover his remains. And then you do that, and then you come back and you talk to her, and the light side part of the conversation is you help the lady. You give her stuff, you comfort her, because, spoilers, he died.
Dude.
You comfort her, and then if you continue to talk to her after that conversation thread ends, it ends and she walks away, but you can find her later in one of the cantinas, and she'll ask you for further help, and then you can be mean to her or even use the Force to make her give you stuff. So the full dark side shameful thing is you complete the quest and you go get his remains, but you refuse to give them to her unless she pays you for them. Then you find her later, and she's like, thank you for recovering my husband's remains. Now I don't want to be here anymore. We were just here because he was on this job, and since he's dead, they're not going to pay anymore. So I want to leave, but I need some money. Can you please help me? And then you can use the Force to have her give you all of her money and then all of her stuff if your Force powers are high enough. You can have her give you all of her belongings too. And then after she's done doing that, she runs out into the desert and kills herself. So if you go full dark side, that's a very shameful act, which I did on one of my dark side playthroughs on KOTOR, and I was like, I feel kind of bad about this. Fucker. I'm a Sith.
She had some cool stuff.
Yeah, she had some money.
Yeah, I would say probably other things would be things like dude mods, but usually those are higher quality textures, so ironically enough, it makes the game look better. And times also, makes it a little bit more immersive because, Skyrim having people sit in the hot springs with in their underwear doesn't seem quite right, does it?
No.
And that's really about it. The adoring fan, speaking of Skyrim, leaving him in an Oblivion Gate, but honestly, I think anyone that spent more than 5 seconds with him could understand that.
Yeah. In one version of the game, one of the patches somewhere along the way, you could have multiple followers if he was your first follower, because he didn't count. There was a glitch where he didn't count as a follower. So if you got him first, then he could follow you, and then you could have someone else follow you. But because the adoring fan was your first follower, you could get more than one follower behind you. And then you could also do summons, which potentially could summon their own. So it's crazy. You could use him to get a huge chain of followers.
And then crash the game because, the game can't handle more than 5 NPCs at once.
Yeah, but then, they patched that out. And so he went back to being useless and annoying again.
Yeah, the one shining moment that he had a use.
Yep. I can't think of anything else shameful that I've done in video games, but again, I don't really feel shame. I don't feel shame, so... I suppose technically you could say it was shameful. I used to exploit a glitch in Gears of War on the multiplayer where that you could constantly sprint, but also shoot at the same time. Because if you're sprinting, the game doesn't allow you to shoot. You can reload and you can go from a sprint to a melee attack, but no shooting. But there was this glitch you could do that would let you sprint with the shotgun out And the shotgun is an instant kill if you're within like a certain distance. So also when you sprint, you like do this weird little crouch in Gears of War. Like it's, stupid in real life, but as a gameplay mechanic, it kind of makes sense because you crouch down lower and you're more difficult to hit while you're sprinting, so you can get to cover.
Refrigerator sprinting anyway is kind of silly.
But using this glitch, you could sprint and shoot at the same time. So you're a harder target to hit, you were moving super fast, and you could also shoot. And I used to do that all the time in multiplayer before they patched it out.
Yeah, that's just being a dick.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's not really shameful. That's just being an asshole. Which I'm also an asshole, so.
Careful. If you're too much of an asshole, you may become president.
I would be such a good president. Compared to fucking Donald Trump, I would be an amazing president. I'd be a really bad politician, though. I don't like politics.
To be fair, the bar's set low now.
Touche. Solo Oprah Winfrey has a chance to win.
Yeah, if you want to talk dystopian future, it just proves that we didn't learn a fucking thing.
Let's not go there, though. It's not end our show with a political note. Do you have any more shameful moments, or do you want to go to the couple of tweets?
Really. And we kind of already highlighted the tweets. I just condensed them down because it was Kyle just gushing over his snake for the most part. If there was something else that got lost in Kyle just spamming the mentions. And he was also talking about how to survive in PUBG more, but his upcoming reality show.
I wish that would be made into a reality show. That would be funny. Although, I mean, to make it really real, people would die. So
I'm sure we could come up with a list of people.
To be fair, given today's environment, that seems a little more plausible than it did before.
I'm just waiting for Ask the movie to be made.
Ask the movie?
Or Idiocracy?
Yeah, no, I've seen Idiocracy. But just, that made me laugh. Alright, well, if those are the tweets, and that's the question, then that means we're wrapping up for the week.
The part of the episode where you go first.
Where I go first on our when we list things. So, if you want to find me on the YouTubes, you can do so by searching for Gaming Psychologist. Content coming out here in the near future. Still plugging away at the Kerbalcast backlog of episodes. I'm up to 32 that's actually uploaded and scheduled for release over the next few days. I've been doing them in batches of like 2 or 3 episodes at a time. So, I think by next week, up to 32 will be out. And then those will continue to come out until we get to the end. I think in total, like, not accounting for when they changed their numbering system, there's like 80-something episodes, right? 70 or 80
yeah, they went essentially season 2 when Nos left. But that was also kind of the beginning of the end. Not to disparage Amy, but, they started becoming less frequent. But then again, it's also just time differences to begin with, and no one physically there to sit Biff down. And it's like, okay, you got to record now, or we turn back on the music. No, I'll record.
So those are coming up on the channel in batches. I think some of them are slated as like 1-a-day releases, but in general, I've done like 2 or 3 a day whenever I get them done. I'll just schedule them all. I've also been working pretty hard on getting set up to do a series of tutorials for Elite Dangerous. Today, as in today recording day, I posted a Let's Play from Elite. It was mostly just a long form test to make sure that the audio was working and I wasn't having any more issues with my recordings. Elite is difficult to record on my system because there's so much going on in the game, so many effects, that it really eats up a lot of my processing power to actually record. It uses more processing power to record the game than it does to play it, but just because there's so much shit it's trying to capture, and the way that XSplit renders videos on the fly instead of recording a raw video and then going through later, like it renders as it goes. So,
well, all the software recorders do some sort of rendering.
Right, but it's not just like... it's doing everything, and so I had to go in and mess with the XSplit settings and turn things down in the game. And XSplit doesn't like when you have an unlocked frame rate that goes
I wonder
above
how Relive would
120.
do for it.
Don't know.
Because that's essentially a hardware recorder.
Yeah, I've thought about getting a capture card and putting it in this server rig. It's right here. I could rig it up pretty easily, and it doesn't take a lot of horsepower to run a capture card if that's all that the PC is doing. But anyways, it took me quite a bit of finagling to get it recording at a smooth 60 frames at a smooth 1080 60. So I did one big long test recording, and I was like, this turned out okay. I'll post this as like an episode 0. And so that's up today. Mm-hmm. And then other than that, not a lot else going on right now. We couldn't record Divinity on Sunday because of Discord issues.
At least I think it was Discord. I mean, it could just... who knows? It's tough to say. It was just going over your body.
Yeah. So, I mean, we've got a couple episodes sitting ready, but we're going to do a few more before we start putting them on again.
Originally planned to try it to start putting it out next week, but we'll have to see how Sunday goes.
Yep. So right now, that's what's up on my channel. Be expecting some more Elite Dangerous stuff. I've recorded some, what are they, like primers for each of the tutorials I'm going to do. I did that this week, but those obviously can't go up by themselves. They're intended to accompany whatever the tutorial is. My first set of tutorials is going to be mining. No surprise there. Should have those done, or at least the first one done by next week. So be looking forward to that. Otherwise, other places you can find me online, you can do so on Twitter over at JMA4707, where you can see me tweet about all kinds of things. I had a couple today about cryptocurrency, and some guy said I was stupid, and we got into a little bit of a Twitter
tantrum?
Forth. Yeah.
Well, I still like my response to your cryptocurrency thing.
Yeah, you're grumpy cat.
Good.
But, yeah. Otherwise, if you want to see me stream games, you can do so over at twitch.tv/JR4707.
You're planning on doing it this week?
Yep. Thursday night, which will be after the episode comes out. But I've already posted a couple of tweets about it from both my own Twitter and from the VGL podcast Twitter. We will be playing Rocket League, just as a nice way to ease back in. That's a game a bunch of us have and can pretty much just play without... And it goes free. Play without too much setup involved. But I've got to sit down and make up a new list and a new stream calendar and have that put up. So I'll work on that this week too. And if you want to bring my friend on Steam, you can do so by sending a friend request to jarthur4707. I accept all friend requests. I actually got a new one this week. They did not use a passcode, but I got a new friend this week. So,
well, good thing I like using or making up the passcode. Otherwise, I would be disappointed. Well, more so.
Indeed, but feel free to chat me up anytime. I love talking to our audience. It's a lot of fun. And you've all been lovely people so far.
And if you wish to make Jared wonder what the hell is going on and tell him indirectly what episode of the podcast you're coming from, the passcode for this week is Arts and Crafts.
That fits.
Yeah.
Holy shit, that's the episode title.
Nintendo Arts and Crafts?
Yep.
Well, while you do that, I'll go into what's on my channel because I have content.
Yay!
Civilization, I ended up starting later than I planned because I just had another night of it just not working. Well, I shouldn't say not working. It's just my problem was quite simply I was getting bad maps. And I'm playing the Incas, which are very map dependent. And playing the Incas on a flat map, no. It's just not as fun. It's doable, but not as fun. So I ended up restarting a few times because that's kind of the standard procedure for a Civ is, you do a few mulligans, get a decent looking map, and I'm slowly building out. Last episode, I'm up to 2 cities. I've met most of the close by neighbors, I'm on random AI personality, so who knows what they're going to do, but I'm dealing with Brazil, the Ottomans, and Venice. So that's going to be interesting. Venice definitely throws a wrench into things because I was going to use diplomacy as a secondary possibility for a win condition, but most likely not now. I'll have to sit and think about this one. But that's kind of the fun part of Civ, huh? And RimWorld returned today. What? No applause? No. Oh.
You did it.
Yeah, and I'm quite proud with my town name. I think it's my best one. Did you see it?
No. What's your town
Netherwallop.
name? I like that.
Yeah, I have a few rather rude names now because I'm not going to get monetized in a month, so what do I care anymore?
There you go.
Yeah, let's just put it this way. I pretty much have a guaranteed town name for the next time Jared comes up as the first three. Do you want to know the name?
Yes.
Superior Bottom.
That's good.
It's either going to
really
be
good.
that or Jared's Folly.
I could go for both of those.
But I'm kind of leaning towards Superior Bottom. But yeah, RimWorld just kicked off. It has episode 0 and episode 1 up today. I'm doing a Sierra playthrough. So I'm on a dry plane with a lot of heat, so that's going to be fun. Oh, and there's bugs on the map. Yeah, the map spawned with a active bug hive that I'm going to have to go clear out at some point. Fun times.
Woohoo!
And we talked about Divinity on Jared's side of things. Mostly just trying to build up enough episodes so that we have a backlog in case something happens. Because, we want to get through this and been toying around with a few possible ideas for a replacement series. One I kind of came up with just before we started I like, but it's going to take a lot more coordination. But if you wish to see all that, you can find me over at Gaming with Caffeine Rage on the YouTubes, or just find me on Twitter, Gaming with CR. And while we're having you search things, you could also, search us out on Twitter as well, VGL Podcast there, or email us, vglpodcast@gmail.com with your letters, voicemails, gaming-related topics, or your questions. If you want to help pay for this absolute madness, you could do so over at patreon.com/VGLpodcast. And we are very thankful for our patrons. And our patrons helped pay for our Podbean account, vglpodcast.podbean.com, which holds the show notes and the RSS feed if you're catching this on YouTube and wish to just get it in your podcatcher. But it also is available on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and wherever Jared shoved us that I don't know about. I just hope he watched first. Or you at least used lube. Our intro and outro music is On the Ground by Kevin McLeod. You can find his work at incompetech.com. And
as always, as his lovely music starts to roll across my voice. Bye now.
See you next time. And hey, we're below 3 hours.
Bye-bye.
I guess this makes up for all the long ones.
Something like that.
A nice little quickie.
You call 2.5 hours, probably, after editing, a quickie?
For us.
Fair play.
To be fair, you do have just incredible stamina.
Damn right I do.